Hi y'all, we got a beautiful day here in East Tennessee, at least for the time being. The wind is supposed to kick up like a hurricane here in a few hours, but right now it's flat calm. And me and you, if you come with me, we're gonna take advantage. We're gonna try to get on some catfish right quick, fast, and in a hurry. So I've got my cast net here. I'm gonna go over here. I don't know if you can see right over here in front of us, there's some shad flipping up on this little point that comes off right here. And so we're gonna just go over there, make a quick throw with the net, get us some live baits, and then I've got some skipjack in the cooler that we're gonna put on dragging rigs. So we're gonna fish the top of the water column with live baits, and we're gonna fish the bottom of the water column with cut bait. And we're gonna just start fishing here. We're gonna start kind of, I don't know, midway back here or so in this creek channel, work our way out to the main river there and work up a flat, kind of work our way over to the edge of the flat where it goes off into the main river channel and just follow a path. And I'm gonna fish out here a few hours this morning until the wind kicks up. So anyway, y'all come with me. We're gonna have us some fun today. I'm gonna put y'all there in the chest, and I'm gonna go right over here to my right and make a throw over here on these shad. I don't know what they are. I'm hoping they are some thread fins, because our cut bait is going to be big pieces of bait. And so I would like to have some smaller baits for our live bait rig, which again, we're going to fish the top and the bottom of the water column today. These live baits, we might get some catfish with them. We might get some drum, we might get striper, bass, who the heck knows. May not catch nothing at all with them, but I want to have some anyway, and if we can do it real fast, and I'm seeing some stuff flipping through here, so I'm going to get our net here. This is a 6-foot cast net. Look at that dead shad right there from last time, still stuck in there all nasty and dried out. Y'all should have cleaned this net out. But it's a 6-foot cast net, 3/8 inch mesh, and I'm just gonna throw, I've seen them kind of flipping sporadically over here, so let me just make a throw. Looks like we are 14 feet deep here where we're at, but these shad are up obviously higher than water column. Let me just pull up here and see if we got anything. As these geese fly over, y'all say hi to the geese. They want some attention on camera. Yeah, there we go. There's some little thread fins for us. Perfect live baits there for us. Y'all shake them out of that net there for me. Let's try to throw the rest of them out of the kayak, because they'll be in here for days if I don't get them out. We don't need that many. I just wanted to have a dozen or so, really. All right, well, good deal. We made a quick throw there. Got us way too many down in that bucket. Let me get my net and get some of them out of there. This is a 5-gallon bucket, so these things ain't gonna live that long in that small container with no aeration. So I'm gonna just throw most of them out, and then we're just gonna come right over here and get started. Some of them's a little smaller than I would like, but again, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing this, getting any extra bait, because I just loaded up on skipjack yesterday. Got us a fresh batch there in the cooler. And so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on these live baits, which is just going to hopefully be a little bonus fish for us. If we get a drum or a striper or even an extra catfish on these live baits that we'll be towing behind us, great. That's just a bonus. But what we're really going after today is catfish, and hopefully going to get some big ones. That's the hope. I've been getting some better quality fish. My last video for regular viewers, we got some pretty good cats. I went out the following day to the same location, tried to do the same thing, and it was a different world that day. I only caught 3 fish. One of them was pretty good size, but still, it was only three fish, a big difference from the previous day. So I'll probably just, I haven't edited that video down yet. It'll be a shorter video though, so I'll probably stick that on my second channel, Kayak Catfish Highlights, at some point. But yesterday I went out, got us some fresh skipjack, which I've got in the cooler. This morning here, this time of year, I'd prefer really to be fishing the afternoon hours, just mainly for comfort on myself, because it's still chilly here in the mornings. But this afternoon, really mid-morning through the afternoon, the wind is supposed to really kick up today. So I wanted to get out here a little early. I let the sun come up, you know, let it warm up a little bit, and it took me a little extra time because over here at the daggone boat ramp, some jerk off had put a bunch of rocks. Looks like they've been throwing them riprap rocks over the boat ramp there. So I had to kick a bunch of them off so I could back the trailer down. A bunch of inconsiderate people, you know. Y'all know how it is. It's like that everywhere. Nobody respects anybody else's property, whether it's private property or, in this case, public property with the boat ramp. So here's what we're going to do. Let me get the kayak positioned here, and then I'm going to show you on the camera with the graph and let you know kind of the path we're going to take to start going out of this creek. And then once we get up here, I'll be able to show you the flat that we're going to be on, and we're going to work across the flat till we get to the edge of it, and that's where I've had my best success lately, is working kind of the top of the drop on these deeper mud flats that are adjacent to the main river channel. That's where my better fish have come from. So that's what we're going to try to do again today. The creek bite lately for me, it's not been doing any good. So we're going to try to focus more on the channel until such a time the fish prove to me that they're somewhere else. Let me get our catfish rigs ready. We'll go ahead and get our live bait out, and then we'll cut our baits here. I'm bringing y'all along for the ride today, man. We're going to fish at least a few hours, I hope, before the wind kicks up. You never know about the weather forecast as far as when things are going to hit. This time of year, though, it's pretty common to go out in the mornings and it be flat calm, and then by lunchtime the wind's 30 miles an hour. These shad are a lot smaller than what I had hoped they would be, but you know what, we're gonna roll with it. That hook's too big for it, but it is what it is, folks. We're gonna throw it back there. This is just a free line rig there. We got it on a hook that's too big for that shad, but we're gonna put it back there, put some distance between us and the bait. This is a inshore medium heavy action rod, 30-pound braid. My leader, I can't remember if it's 15-pound fluorocarbon or 30-pound fluorocarbon. I need to retie it. I've been using that same leader for over a month now probably, and I probably need to quit being so dang lazy and retie that thing, but I can't remember what I had on there. But anyway, let me just let out a little bit of line on this. We'll cut our skipjack. I'll show you these dragging rigs that we're going to be rolling with today. And then we're just going to set our speed 1/2 mile an hour and just cover water, man. All right, we got that about as far out as I want to go. We'll stick that in the back rod holder. Let me get in our hatch here, get our tools out, and get my glove, scissors, pliers, knife, the essentials, you know. You got to have some basic supplies to go catfishing, folks. Don't need a lot, but you need a little. Grab us a skipjack out of here, good and fresh. One thing about fishing lately, man, the skipjack has been easy to come by. Last year, for whatever reason, I struggled all daggone year, man. I just couldn't get on a consistent skipjack bite. But lately, when I've went out to get them, I have been able to get plenty pretty quickly. They've been pretty easy to come by lately, so I'm hoping that's a sign of things to come for the rest of the year. We'll see. You never know. But right now, I'm grateful to be getting them. So let me show you these rigs. We're going to be dragging today, rolling with 2 rods. I've got my Signature Series Golly Whopper rod from Catfish Sumo. Got 40-pound line here on my reels. My dragging rigs, we've got a 10-aught size circle hook. A few inches above that, a float and rattle. That's 80-pound mono for the leader line. That comes up here to an inline dragging weight. And then above that, I've got one of these brush guards put on here, which I don't know if these are worthwhile or not. This is something I've been playing with. We should probably take those off at some point soon and see how these inline dragging sinkers do without them. But so far with these inline dragging sinkers, I'm liking them pretty good. They're 2 ounces, which is a little bit lighter than I normally use on my others, but they're doing pretty good. So here's our bait. That's a skipjack head. Put that over there. Start letting out line. Now let's get our other one rigged up and ready to go. We're 26 feet here right now in this creek channel. And this rig, rod, reel, line, everything set up is the same as the one I just showed you. The only difference is we got a skipjack head on that other rod, and we're just gonna, I've cut a slice of this other one, just probably a palm size chunk here for this bait. And we're gonna run it off the other side of the kayak. Let me start letting out some line on it. All right, let me stick this in the cooler. I'm gonna clean off our cutting board here. Me and you, we on the move, buddy. We're ready to catch some fish today. I hope you're ready to catch them. I am. I've been having some fun on the last couple catfish trips. Just, it's so much more fun fishing when the weather's not freezing cold. So it's a little chillier than I would like it to be this morning, but it's sunny and it's going to warm up. Should be, by the time we roll out of here today, it should be in the 50s. So it's going to be comfortable. But let me just take the camera here. I want to try to show you on the graph with the sun beside us. I think you should be able to see it okay. But here's where we are, and we're kind of in this old creek channel. To the right on the bank, you can see how steep that hill is. It comes off real sharp down into the creek channel here where we're at 26 feet. Over to our left, you can see the contour lines are a little wider. It's a more gradual slope up to the other bank over there. So we're just down in this old gully here, this old channel. We're going to follow it out, and of course, you can see where the end of the land is right up here. This creek is, it's not too terribly long. Back there where probably that last house you can see, that's where the creek really chokes down back there, but you know, it's not a super long creek. But we're going to start here where we're at because, again, lately, I'm not catching anything back real shallow right now. Everything I'm getting has been out on the deeper flats. So that's where I want to start here, just kind of midway back in this creek just to test, see what's going on. There's obviously bait here. Like this is a big school of shad that we're going over right now. I mean, it's right under us from the surface down to 15 feet, 17 feet there. So huge school of shad. There is bait back here. But we'll just start here and go half a mile an hour and just, hey, we'll cover some water today, folks. We're going to try to take our baits to the fish. And if you're seeing this, by gosh, we got some going. So I'm going to flip the bail over on that rod. I'm going to let out a little bit more line on this one before we flip it over. And our live shad behind us is, I don't know, what do you think? 30 to 50 yards behind us back there, maybe. Y'all holler. Let me just make sure my drag's good on that. But y'all holler if that rod goes down. This is just, it's bonus fish material, folks. That's all that is. That's why I don't want to spend a lot of time with it trying to get us some, I mean, I'd like to have some bigger shad for that, but I don't want to spend a lot of time with it because it's just going to be bonus thing. I think over the course of the year, let's flip that bail on that one over. Oh, hey, look right here. There's a little bit bigger mark. There's a bigger mark. Here's one about 17 feet up a little bit. That's a good sign. We're seeing some life, bigger fish up there already in this creek. But like I was saying, I'm gonna put y'all on the chest here. Oh, look right here. By gosh, our live bait. Even with the hook that's too big for it, we got something right here. Well, already paying dividends here, y'all. Already paying dividends with this live bait. The bonus fish rod has got us a bonus fish. I hope he don't get over there. He swam. Why don't you swim over here to the left, fish? Get out of that. Get out of the way of that line. We'll see what this is. He kind of feels like a cat. And oftentimes I have found when you got them big schools of shad, massive schools of shad like we just went over, there will be catfish above them sometimes. Above them and beside them. So this may be what we have. It is. First fish is a catfish. Where we at on the video, man? We're 16 minutes in, and hell, part of that time was spent netting bait and getting baited up. That's fast. Thanks for biting so quickly, Blue Kitty. Let me get hold of you here. Well, this fish here didn't care that the hook's too big for that bait. He got him a shad. Let me try to get you in the light there. My head's blocking the light, fish. I'm sorry. You're too little to look at anyway, but we'll take him, man. That's fish number one. Let's grab us another one right quick and throw that back out. I'd hook that one. Let me just try running this through see if I can get it through the nostrils there. There we go. Throw it back out there. Yeah, buddy. Well, I was trying to say, what I'm trying to hopefully keep myself motivated to do this year is run a live bait rod more often when I'm out on my normal catfish trips. A live bait that's up, anyway, I should say. We're still going to use live baits periodically, like I always do for catfishing, on bottom. But I want to try to get some extra fish this year, just bonus fish in the upper part of the water column, whether it's stripers, drum, crappie. I mean, we may be able to get us some variety of species while we're catfishing, and it's something that I should always do. I'm just kind of lazy. I don't like throwing a cast net. It's not so bad today. I got my bibs on. But as we get later in the year, I'm just out in normal clothes. You get all soaking wet throwing a cast net, and it takes extra time, and I just make a lot of excuses as to why I don't do it. And so we end up missing out on a lot of fish throughout the year because of my laziness. But I've tried to be more proactive about it lately. And I think over the course of the year, I don't know how many more fish it's going to equate to, but I'm confident we're going to get a lot more fish. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting some big fish throughout the year too. Now I know you look at these thread fins we're using today, they're probably, 3 inches there? They're small. You might think, well, you ain't gonna catch nothing big on a little 3-inch thread fin. Well, we may not today, but you'd be surprised. And we're not just gonna be using a little 3-inch thread fin all the time. It's just gonna be whatever I end up netting. So some places I launch, maybe we get larger thread fins. Some places I go, hell, maybe we get big old gizzard shad. Maybe we get some suckers. Who knows? But whatever we get, when I bring the net and do this, we will just throw it out behind us and see what happens. And I just have to believe that over the course of the year, it's going to translate into a lot more fish caught. I don't know how many more, but I think it will be a lot. And I think of those fish, I mean, just statistically speaking, the more fish you catch, the more likely you are to catch a bigger fish. And it's bound to happen, man. It's bound to happen. And you know what? If we do it and it's a total bust and it's a waste of time and we're not getting that many more fish and it ain't worthwhile, well, then we just don't do it anymore. But I'll tell you, it's when you're throwing out the bottom of the food chain, and those of you that watch my ultralight videos where I'm throwing the gulp minnow, that's my favorite ultralight bait. I catch so many fish on that gulp minnow. And I've caught them all over. I mean, everywhere I've fished in the country, the gulp minnow just works. Why does it work? Well, it's representing a tiny minnow or a tiny shad. Whatever the smallest fish in the body of water that you're at, that's what it's representing. It's the absolute bottom of the food chain. And when you're throwing the bottom of the food chain, all of these fish out here, these predator fish, they're hungry, they're opportunistic, they're going to eat those. And it's hard to go wrong throwing something that's just on the absolute bottom. And yes, let's just take these shad here today, for instance. That whole bucket there is about the same size. They're all about that, 2.5, 3 inch size, right? Well, guess what? I would bet you 99% of the shad in this creek right now are probably all that size. So any fish that work back up in here, that's probably in their diet. Oh, hell, we got people coming up here. Y'all know I don't like talking on camera around people. Tell them to go somewhere. Tell them to get that hell out of here. There's 2 of us on the water today. I'm filming this on a weekday morning. I wouldn't believe anybody'd be out here. They must have come from somewhere else too, because there ain't nobody over here but me at the ramp parking lot. But anyway, whatever works back up in this creek, they're coming back up in here to eat. They're probably going to be eating some of those size shad just because they're so prevalent in here. So don't be too concerned about the size of the bait. It'll be like that throughout the year. As those shad get bigger, we'll start netting those more. Some of the creeks we go in might have a large population of gizzard shad. And any fish that work into those creeks or those coves or wherever, boat ramps, wherever we're at, well, what are they going to be eating? Probably the gizzard shad that's there, right? Oh, back rod again. Back rod again. Our bonus fish rod's paying off again. I do expect this to be better in the creeks. Like the other day, that last video for regular viewers, we were out in the main channel, we were in the current. We didn't get a single fish on the live bait rod. I think this is going to be more of a calmer water technique where we're going to, we'll probably catch some out in the current, maybe stripers and stuff like that, but most of our fish, I think, will come in the backwaters or lake-like conditions on days where we're fishing and they're not running any flow. But time will tell with that. So we got another cat right here. He's on the other side of my line over there too. Let me bring him up this way, try to get him up front here, away from that line. By gosh, y'all done caught another fish on this live bait. Another blue cat up in the water column. What you got to say for yourself, blue cat? You second fish, blue cat. Ricky Bobby used to say, if you ain't first, you last. I hope he ain't the last fish. If he is the last fish, y'all ain't seeing this video today. So good news, he just bit my thumb too. Good news, that ain't the last one that we caught today. Now our hook here, this is a shiner hook. Gamakatsu shiner hook. It's a 3/0 size, I believe, which is, again, way too big for the size of the shad we got, but it's what I got tied on, and it's what we're rolling with. Let me try going through the nostrils on this again. I don't like that shad. Let's get one that's a little bit more lively. That one right there looks good. There we go. Hopefully he'll be a little bit more lively than the last one out there that was barely moving. I want these shad when we're trolling this thing behind us, and we're going through these big schools of shad under us. I want these struggling shad on our hook to be looking like they're obviously struggling, but separated from their school. And that's what's going to get them eaten, get them isolated out there away from their school as we troll along, and that's what's going to get them eat. But I want to keep them, I want to put some distance between this bait and the kayak, so I want them back there 30, 50 yards or so. I'm going to try to hopefully reel these fish in between my other two lines so we don't get any. I don't want it taking away from our bigger baits, getting tangled up and stuff. Something just ate it. Something just ate it while I was letting that line. That was good timing. I still had it in my hand. I felt him hit it while I was letting that line, and he started pulling out more. How about that? I wonder if this will be another cat too. Can't tell yet. Let's get him up here. What we got? By gosh, it is. It's another cat. And there's a lot of cats up today. Goodness gracious, 3 cats right off the bat, all up in the water column. All right. He's a dink, but he's a bite. Hold yourself out there, kitty. Say hi and bye to these people. He's got mud all over him. Well, let's grab, that one looks lively. Let's grab him. Go through the nose. All right. That old bass fisherman over here beside us. Hopefully they'll move on here in a minute. There we go. With the size of shad that we're using and the size of that hook, they're not going to be able to support that weight. Like, they're going to go down. Now, as we're trolling along, that'll keep them higher in the water column, but when we're letting that line like this, they're sinking. So I don't know how far that last one had potentially sunk down when that cat ate him. But it's the old saying, you know, match the hatch. Like, if the size of the bait in this creek is 3 inches, well, throw 3 inches. If the size of the bait is 6-inch gizzard shad, then throw 6-inch gizzard shad. I've heard that in fishing magazines for my entire life. You've heard match the hatch. Probably long before I come along. All right. Let's flip that over. Hopefully it won't be long before we get to the next one. I'm hoping that that'll keep me in business, keep me engaged too while we wait on you know, the other bites, the bigger bites that I expect to get with the bigger baits. Gives us something to do, you know. Now, again, I won't be surprised at all if we hook something really big on the live bait rod at some point in the year. I'm going to keep us turned this way so I don't have to engage with people as they go by. Even if it's just a friendly conversation, it's too much for me today. I just can't. I can't people today. I just want to be left the hell alone. That's all I want. I just want to come out and fish in peace. An awkward on the water or boat ramp conversation where it's like, hey, how's it going? Doing any good today? Boy, the weather's nice. I just can't stand just meaningless conversation. I can't stand it. I don't want to be rude, but at the same time, if I don't find you interesting, it's hard for me to conversate very long, and it's hard for me to want to conversate with someone who's not interesting. And I don't find boat ramp and on the water conversation interesting. I know I'm just antisocial and I'm rude. Y'all can say it. I know what I am. I have enough self-awareness to know that I shouldn't be socializing at all. In fact, I'm too antisocial for social media. I shouldn't even be on this YouTube crap. I don't fit in. I don't belong on this platform. But here I am. It'll be interesting though. I don't know. I didn't look at the generation schedule to see. They've been moving some water. We'd had some rain and our water level had come up to really to about summer pool. And it started to lower again now. We're down, I don't know if you can see over there on the shoreline where the rocks are, but we're down 2 or 3 feet probably. So we're on the fall now. We're getting lowered back down. But I don't know what the current's going to be like. Oh, another one back here, folks. Another one. I think it's a cat, too. I think it is. I felt him rolling. Them old bass fishermen went by us. They ain't caught a damn thing. Here we've caught like 3 fish just since we saw them. Let's bring him around this other rod here again. We've done pretty good about not getting these fish in our other lines as we're reeling them in. Let me show you this right quick. Look at that mark right there near the bottom. That's a bigger fish right there. When I have seen fish, catfish, up in the water column, and it oftentimes happens this time of year when you've got these massive schools of shad. And back when I had my live scope on this kayak, you'd see them, and I was able to target them with artificials. But it was mostly, oh, that's a drum actually. That's a little bonus fish right there. Little bonus fish drum. He's a little bigger than what I want to fool with as far as cutting up for bait, but nice little bonus bycatch. Let me do something with him a minute, folks, if I can. Let me get us turned here. I'm about to run us up on the bank's what I'm about to do. I don't know if this will turn out or not, but I'm going to try it. Let me hold him. Ah, that ain't going to be no good. I was going to try to get him in a thumbnail, holding him out like that, but the suns went behind a cloud. Poor timing on that, wasn't it, Drum? I was going to make you famous. Get on out of here, then. You missed your chance, Drum. Well, 4 fish now, all on the shad. missing again, right through the nostrils there. If we can get it without tearing. Okay. What was I talking about? I was about to go on something. Oh, I was talking about the live scope. When I had the live scope on here, and I would, this time of year, be able to find fish that were up in the water column, catfish that were up, it was mostly small fish. Like, you would see a good number of them. I've got videos on my channel. You can go back and watch of me using artificials with the live scope and targeting individual catfish. But the bigger fish, your trophy class blue cats, would still be down along the bottom. You just didn't, at least out here where I fish, you just didn't see the bigger cats up. I'm sure certain times of year and conditions, I'm sure they are, inevitably. But you just didn't see it. Oh. Letting that line on our live bait here, and something was hitting. Something hit it. Okay. Well, we got it going back out again. Set it back there. I've just got it in the back rod holder there, the molded in one. So that rod tip is high, and it's hopefully helping keep that shad up as we pull along. Like I said, the hook is heavy enough for that small shad. It's going to take it down. But our speed with the shorter distance line, I mean 30 to 50 yards ain't a lot, it's going to keep those baits higher in the water column. I don't know an exact depth, but I would expect them to be within a few feet of the surface. And anywhere in there is obviously fine. We're shellacking them out here right now. I just hope we get on, some bigger cats with our cut bait today. The fact that there's so many small catfish up in this creek, and we've seen some better marks there on the graph as we've come out, and it leads me to think that some fish might be on the feed today, like we're out here maybe during an active time period. But I'm seeing there's obviously some birds in this creek too. They're on the water back here behind us, but out here in front of us, there's a lot of, you probably can't see, I can't zoom on this action camera, but there's a lot of birds circling around out there on what would be the flat out here. So I would say this bait is probably just all over out through here, would be my guess. If you got a lot of bait in an area, there's going to be some predator fish somewhere near them. Yeah, they might be following the bait around under them, or they might be staged out holding on something and just moving up to feed on them when the timing is right and everything, but they're going to be somewhere near them. Like I said though, lately, my better fish has been out just working the edges of the flats that drop off to the channel. Look right here, has it happened again? By gosh, it has. This is awesome. Oh, that one come free. Y'all pulled the hook right out its mouth. The size of this hook is going to limit some of our fish today on the live bait for sure. I need to put some more line on my crappie rod. I took it out there on that last video that you saw, and my line's all messed up because I ain't changed it in forever, and so I didn't bring it today. But I had a smaller jig head tied on it, and smaller jig head, smaller hook, it will allow smaller fish to be able to get the bait and the hook. This larger hook right here it's going to have to be something with a bigger mouth to eat it. We're not going to catch any bluegill on this setup. We're probably not going to get any smaller crappie on this setup. And crappie's one of them things that I suspect, especially when we're fishing the creeks with this live bait and trolling, that we will catch a fair amount of. And that will equate to some extra bait for catfishing that I don't have to dedicate bait fishing time to. At least that's what I hope anyway. Time will tell. I got to get some line on that though. I meant to do it, but I didn't write it down. And if I don't write it down, I can't remember to do anything. So I need to make myself a note. The wind, I feel the wind. I hope we get a fair amount of time fishing. I don't know how long this video is going to be because I don't know how long we're going to get to be out here before it really gets going. It's supposed to be like 20+ mile-an-hour gusts today. When you get situations where you got the wind blowing over 20 and a large open body of water like I'm on today, it's just too much for a kayak. It's just too much. But right now, the good news is the wind isn't blowing hard, but it is blowing. It's starting to blow. And it's coming this way. So if it will maintain this direction, even as it ramps up, assuming it does while we're out here, again, weather forecast, hit or miss, but if it'll stay blowing like this, we should be able to fish how I want to do without really being too big of a hassle with it. We'll be able to, as long as you're going into the wind, you can maintain your speed. And right now, the wind, assuming there's current out there, it's going to be going that way, and the wind is going to be coming into it this way. So we should be able to go into both of them. Where it gets a little tricky is if you got the wind blowing against the current. Because like with us trolling and dragging baits today, we need to be going into the current because I want to be going slow. I want to be going 1/2 mile an hour or less. If you're going to drag with the current, you've got to go faster than the current speed. And that's going to be too quick for us today. I don't want to, at this time of year anyway, water temps, I mean, it's 47 degree water temps right now. I don't want to be going 0.8, 1 mile an hour speeds going with the current. I just don't think we'll do any good with that. But if you've got, let's say you got the current going 1/2 mile an hour and the wind is blowing the opposite direction and it's making it where you can't maintain a slow speed going into the current without either getting pushed forward or the back end of the kayak getting pulled around, it can make it a little challenging. Now you can throw out a drift sock behind you and kind of create extra resistance for the kayak. That way the wind doesn't, between the current going into the drift sock and the wind pushing the kayak forward with the resistance of the drift sock, it'll slow you down. But that's one extra thing you got to carry with you. You've got to then a rope and a drift sock behind you, and you're trying to reel in fish around that. Like, I don't like doing it. If I don't have to, I don't want to fool the drift sock. But there are times when the wind gets going and it's just those perfect storm conditions where it's going against the current and it's blowing you. You just can't maintain your slow speed because it's blowing you too fast. It's just, you got to do something. You either got to change what you're doing, change your technique, change your location, or throw out something like a drift sock. Thought our back rod got hit again here. Guess I'm imagining things. Let me make sure. Let me see if I still feel a bait on there. Yeah, I still feel him. Could be. I don't want to have that thing get hit, get ripped off the hook, and us not know it. Y'all holler if that rod goes down now. It's y'all's rod back here today. I don't want to be pulling around a bare hook. Catch a daggone thing on it. We can, if them shad die in the bucket there, we can pull around a dead shad, but I don't want a bare hook. I don't want to listen to them geese all day either. Y'all tell them geese over there, go somewhere else. It's about time for them things to fly north, fly south, fly somewhere. Wherever the hell they go, that's where they need to go. Wherever they need to fly. Getting about time for allergy season too, folks. I can already tell I need to be on my nasal spray. Everything's gonna be blooming soon, and my allergy's gonna go crazy. I definitely need to be on that stuff before I go down to Alabama to fish. I gotta get ready for a tournament down there that's coming up. I don't know how many of the tournaments I'm going to end up fishing this year. They're implementing a new rule. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but it's coming. And it's going to impact a couple tournaments for sure. Assuming this rule goes through, like I said, it's behind the scenes. I've heard it's coming imminently, but it hasn't been officially announced. But basically what this is going to do, last year, there was a lot of people complaining. And by a lot, I don't really know the exact number, but apparently it was enough people speaking loudly enough. Our back rod got hit. I know it got hit that time, because the rod just fell back over forward when let me make sure. I think he got our bait. It's one thing about fishing out of a kayak, you can feel when something hits your lines oftentimes. Yep, we got robbed. Call the law. I want y'all to call the law right now, file a report. We done been stole from out here. Fish stole our bait, and well, Jennifer Lawrence on the Hunger Games stole my heart. I wonder what old Jennifer Lawrence is up to these days. I ain't seen her in a new movie in forever. Of course, hell, I ain't even been in the movies in forever. Do people even go to the movies anymore? Is everything just on demand now? I don't know. Anyhow, while I'm letting out this line on our live bait here, let me tell you about the tournament stuff that's coming up. Rule changes. So anyway, last year, people were upset with apparently me and Ryan Bortz, who also done really well last year, and a couple other guys who they feel are getting an unfair advantage in these tournaments because we have the option of pre-fishing. And I obviously have that ability to pre-fish because me doing this YouTube stuff. We're gonna get this thing. We got a log floating right there, and I think it's gonna get. I'm trying to work our line around this log. It's gonna miss our catfish lines, thankfully, but I don't want it getting our shad that we just put out. Got my line tilted, or my rod tilted this way to try to work around it. Okay, I think we're good. Talent, folks. That's talent, working around them snags. These people were upset because me doing YouTube, obviously, if I want to go fish a tournament out of town, I can go and fish several days in advance of the tournament if I want to. Ryan he had quit his job last year and doing YouTube and some other things, and so he had a lot of flexibility with his time as well. And some of the other guys that work in, oh my gosh. Oh, he's on there. He's on there. He's on there. I thought he'd let it go. Let's see what this is. Oh, we may not get this damn tournament story out. These fish keep interrupting, all rude and stuff. I don't know what this one is. He don't feel like a cat yet. He might be, but he don't feel like one yet. I didn't have as much line out that time either. We've had several fish now up in the water column as we've moved along out here. This has been a really productive technique. No, it is a cat. He didn't feel like one right away. He's small. Get that old slime off there. Open up, kitty. I need my de-hooker tool on you. This one here is small enough to use it on. Another small little eater-sized cat right there. Got him a shad. Let's grab. I don't want that one. Get me a good one out of here. Pick us out a winner. Get that right there. That right there is a winner. Go on out there and find us a fish we want to reel in there, Shad. I don't care what species, just make it one that we want to reel in. So, back to the story, if we can. Me and a handful of the other guys can fish and prepare for a tournament however we want to. Well, some of the other people that fish who can't pre-fish, they just take a couple days off work, travel to the tournament, maybe fish or get bait the day before, fish the tournament, and then have to go home. And they feel that they obviously are at a disadvantage. Now, it ain't my fault that they can't get time off to go adequately prepare for a tournament, but nevertheless, they feel like they are at a disadvantage. So, enough of those people spoke loudly enough that there's going to be a rule change this year. Allegedly coming, that now, the week before the tournament, we will have 2 days that we can pre-fish. It can be any 2 days, but it can only be 2 days. The rest of the week leading up to that tournament, we're not going to be allowed to be on that body of water, wherever the tournament's at. And from a competition standpoint, I don't really care. Like, I trust my ability to read a map and be able to, you give me 2 days fishing somewhere, I'm going to figure enough stuff out. If nothing else, figure out where not to go. So 2 days is plenty for me to get ready for a tournament. So they're not really hindering my ability to do well in a tournament. Plus, there's no rules about going down before the week leading up to a tournament. So I can plan a trip whenever, so can the other guys. What it does negatively impact with me, though, is some places that are longer drives that I definitely want to, not even fish necessarily to get ready for the tournament, but film, make it worthwhile, because there's not enough people that fish these tournaments to, you take the Louisiana tournament last year, for instance. We had 7 people show up. Now, I won it, so I got like, I think it was $1,600, $1,650, something like that. So it's a nice payday if you win. But I think second place either second place didn't get anything or they got their entry fee back. So it's pretty much all or nothing. And when you think about the Louisiana trip last year for me, it was like a 9-10 hour drive, something like that. You've got hotel, fuel, food, all that. Like, your winnings are pretty much gone. Like, you're just basically breaking even, assuming you win. If you finish second place or worse in that tournament, you're taking a loss for the week. And so you have to look at it when you're doing these tournaments that don't have a lot of participation and doesn't have a big payout. You have to look at it in basically one of two ways. You either have to look at it as a vacation type trip where you're going somewhere that you want to fish, and while you're there, you're just going to fish the tournament. And if you win or place and cash a check, great. If not, you still got a nice vacation out of it. The other way you got to look at it is if you're a content creator like me, you look at it as kind of a fun business trip where you're going to go somewhere and fish and film some videos leading up to the tournament day, or all that. Or stay after the tournament's over and fish and film and yada, yada, yada. And that's how I typically look at it, being a content creator. And so this limiting it to 2 days prior to the tournament, while I don't really care for tournament purposes, for YouTube purposes, I do care. Because if you're saying that you take if it's somewhere, a Tennessee tournament, an Alabama tournament, where I'm a 3-4 hour drive from home, I don't really care. But somewhere that's a long distance away, like Louisiana, that's a 9 or 10 hour drive, or you take the Texas tournament we've got on our schedule this year, or the Missouri tournament, these tournaments that are 10, 12 hours or longer drive, well, I want to be able to maximize my time on the water. I want to be able to fish. And you might say, well, Justin, we'll just go over there for the tournament and stay a few days afterwards to make it worthwhile. Well, that's fine. You can do that. I'm not opposed to going somewhere and doing that, but why do it on a tournament schedule? If I want to drive 10 hours down to Louisiana, why don't I just do it when I know the weather's going to be great and the fishing conditions are going to be good? Why schedule it around a tournament when the tournament schedule's put out months in advance? We have no idea what the weather's going to be like, or the water conditions, or the fishing conditions. We don't know. So why am I going to plan a trip just for a tournament? If I'm going to drive that far, I want to do it when the odds are in my favor of succeeding. So because of these rule changes, I'm probably not going to go to the Louisiana tournament this year, I don't think. I'll probably go down to Louisiana and fish. You all can probably expect to see some videos of me fishing down there. But I probably won't go for the tournament, because what the thought was when the tournament director's making this is like, well, you can't fish on the body of water where the tournament is, but there'll be other bodies of water around that you could go if you wanted to come in early. And some places, that's true. But you take the Louisiana tournament just as an example. It's the Mississippi River is where everybody's going to fish, but all the bayous around there, Lake Pontchartrain and some other ones there that I don't remember, all of those are eligible water for our tournament. So we're not going to be allowed on those either. So for us to find somewhere, if you just wanted to go fish, you've done your 2 days that you're allowed to fish for the tournament, and you want to just go fish somewhere else, you got to drive hours and hours and you've already driven hours to get down there, but you got to go several more hours to find a lake or body of water that's not in the tournament boundary area. And again, it's like, if you cater to these people that gripe and complain, you're not going to please them. They'll just find another reason why they're getting beat. It's like you can't give in. You can't give in to terrorists in one sense, but I am going to fish some of the other tournaments that aren't as long a drive, assuming the weather conditions. I don't want to go if it's going to be storms or really high winds or something like that. But other places, we've got Wheeler coming up. We've got Nickajack in a couple months, Hoover Reservoir in Ohio, Sandusky Bay, places like that. Like, they're close enough drive that I'm going to try to go fish those. But the longer ones, the Texas one, the Louisiana one, the Missouri one, like, I was going to be questionable to go on those anyway, but now that I know I can only fish 2 days, it's just not, from a YouTube perspective, it's not going to be worthwhile for me. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm still going to go. I'm probably going to go to Louisiana some point. I don't want to give a definite date, but I definitely want to go back down there. I want to go down there to not only catfish, but also spend some more time down there in kind of the salt and the brackish water too. I want to do that. And then, of course, I'll go back to Florida in the fall. I've got my timeshare thing settled in now. I ended up, oh, here comes them damn bass. I guarantee we caught more fish coming out of this creek than them bass fishermen did. Here they come up behind us. I didn't think we'd see anybody out here today. But the last 3 years I've been down there at the Florida Keys, I have rented somebody else's timeshare. And where do you think they going now to not catch fish? You tell them they've driven by about 800 fish since we got eyes on them. If they can't catch them here, well, they're going to catch them somewhere else at. But anyhow, I had rented somebody else's timeshare at this resort we like staying at, me and my girlfriend, and it's a awesome location in Islamorada, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, little individual, I don't know what you call them, condos. I call them, my girlfriend calls them huts, but they're really just like condos. Great location there in Islamorada. Got your own beach, got your own dock there, catch bait off of. I've caught sharks right there behind the place. Anyway, we love it there. We absolutely love it. And the lady that I have rented from put her units up for sale. 2 weeks there around Thanksgiving. And so I ended up buying both of hers. And so we've been going through the paperwork process on that. We're in the final stages of it. But anyhow, I'm going to own those weeks, so I won't have to worry about trying to either get with her or somebody else to rent down there then. And we'll be locked into a much cheaper rate than what I've been paying. It's amazing, the upcharge. I think what I'm going to do, I've talked to my girlfriend about this, because she can only go down for 1 week anyway with her work, and we like Thanksgiving week because it's her birthday. Well, her birthday is November 24th, which usually falls around Thanksgiving. Last year was a little bit off because Thanksgiving was later, but usually. But with us having 2 weeks down there, we're going to be guaranteed to have her birthday week off. And Thanksgiving week, she gets off work on the Thanksgiving day and the day after. So she only has to take 3 days vacation to go down there for a week. And so I think what we're going to do is whatever the week is that falls on her birthday week, we're going to go down there to the Keys. I think I'm going to take the other week that we have and try to rent it out and try to turn a nice profit on it, hopefully, and take that money and then go up to the Everglades and spend a week there. And based on what I have paid in the past and based on what I have seen the other units go for that get rented out versus the actual maintenance fees that I have to pay, I think I'm going to come out ahead anywhere from $500 to $1,000 ahead which will, you know, it'll go a long ways toward paying the extra, not only covering my lodging for the Everglades, but covering my fuel and food and all that as well. So I'm hoping when it's all said and done, I get me a free week to the Everglades for renting my, we got a snag here, folks. Let's see if we can come out of this. I'm hoping to end up getting a free trip to the Everglades, what I'm hoping for. There we go, we come through it. Oftentimes like that, you've seen that rod load up. If you will give, and this is true of any dragon sinker setup you have, if you will give your line some slack and then lift straight up, you'll pull it through. You pull it through whatever it gets in. We're getting through an area right now that's going to choke down. I'll show you on the graph here. This was the old original creek mouth here. Plus, it says we're going across a submerged bridge too. I didn't see any remnants of it there. But this area of the creek, it chokes down right here, and then it's going to lead out here to this deeper flat and go out that way for a stretch before it drops off. So we're going to just go straight out through here, work our way over to the edge, and then turn and go upriver. That's going to be the plan right there. Right there's a fish too, right here at the entrance of this thing. I don't know how long it took us to get baited up and catch our shad and everything, but I'm going to just leave the baits that we have on for now. We've got plenty of skipjack. I obviously want our baits in good condition and fresh since we're only rocking 2 rods. But nothing, the water's cold. It's 47-degree water temps. We've got nothing touching our catfish baits right now, our skipjack. Nothing's been down there pecking and chewing on them. They ought to still be in pretty good condition. When you got cold water, they don't bleed out as quickly. So I think they should still be okay. So I'm going to leave them be for now. I would rather leave them out there as is than reel them in and have downtime while we switch out baits. But we'll give it another 20, 30 minutes and then we'll maybe go ahead and switch them out. But I'm going to leave them be for now. At least pull through right here because, I mean, we've coming across, we're 39 feet deep. We got a bunch of shad up here on the surface and some larger, there's some around, looks like about 25 feet, and here's some bigger ones on bottom, about 30, 37, 38 feet right there. So I want to leave everything as is right now. You can't catch fish if you don't have lines in the water. I don't necessarily suspect we're going to be catching anything on the live bait right now when we're pulling through this big school of shad. We need to get our live bait separated from that big school, right? But our catfish bait's pulling through there. When our baits get to those fish as we move along. And this is the type of place right here that we're coming through, like that old submerged bridge, the creek channel, the original creek channel chokes down. If I was going to anchor fish out here today, that would be a spot that I would set up on, because fish coming off this flat right here to work in this creek, they're going to have to go right through your baits to get back there. If they're coming out of this creek, they're probably going to go this same path going back out. So that would be a great place as an anchor spot to set up if we were going to do so. But I really want to cover some water. My better fish lately have been coming while dragging. I haven't done very good anchor fishing lately, and that's probably just wrong place, wrong time type thing. But when you've got these colder water temps and fish are maybe not feeding as often, it's like if you're set up, you can be at the right place, but if you're there at the wrong time, you just ain't going to get a bite. It's all or nothing. And unfortunately, I've kind of been going through a stretch where it's been mostly nothing. So I got back to dragging, and getting on not only better quality fish, but getting several fish too. Even the last trip out, which like I said, I'm gonna end up putting it on my second channel because I only got 3 fish, but hell, I still got 3 fish, and one of them pretty good. And I deviated from my plan. So I'd been out, I went back out to that same area that y'all saw in the last video there, trying to replicate that bite. And it wasn't going well. I wasn't doing any good, right? So I deviated from the plan and I went off into one of these feeder creeks that fed into that area. And I went all the way to the back of it and all the way out. So most of my trip was in that creek where I hadn't really been doing any good. And so the fish that I did get was out doing what I should have been doing the whole time. I just didn't end up spending much time doing that. And that's on me. I made a judgment call while I was out there, and it didn't pay off. It's poor judgment. You can make a judgment call, but if it don't work out, then you've exercised poor judgment, which is what I did. But that goes back, I was talking about that in that last video that you saw, the inconsistency, for me anyway, of this time of year, this really into late winter, early spring time period. I'm very inconsistent and I struggle a lot. And it's like you get on a bite one day and the next day you go out and you can go the same place, do the same thing and have completely different results. It's just conditions. The conditions are always changing. This right here, I think we've got in some brush right here. I saw something on bottom there. I wasn't sure what it was. All right, we've come through it though. Come through it for now. I don't want to jinx it, but so far so good with these inline dragging sinkers. I haven't lost any yet. Boy, I just dropped right back into it. Let's see if I can navigate through this thing. I'm gonna end up jinxing it by saying we ain't lost one yet. But though, so far so good with them. I'm not real certain that the brush guards are really necessary. Maybe they are, maybe they're a benefit, maybe they're not. Probably what I'm gonna do is take them off and see how we do. But I have them, I bought them. They don't seem to be negatively impacting a bite at all because we've caught several fish since I've been using these setups. So there's not really any reason for me not to have them since I've already purchased them, but for figuring out if they're necessary or not for future purchases and hopefully helping some of you all figure out if it's worthwhile to spend your money on it or not. It might be beneficial for me to take them off and see how we do without them. Kind of wondering if we've got a shad on our live bait rod now. I'm gonna try to pick up on it and see if I can feel him. I don't think we do. I think we've been robbed again. We did, we got robbed. One of y'all needs to call the law, for real. That's twice now we've been robbed. We've just been back there pulling a bare hook. You ain't gonna catch nothing on a bare hook, folks. Unless you're down there in the Everglades fishing for ladyfish, they'll hit a bare hook. I've seen that with my own eyes and done it. All right. All right, I'll get this one going back out. Hopefully y'all tell me when it gets hit next time. The wind is going to be an issue when it kicks up out here. I thought it was blowing down into this creek, but I think it must have just been whipping around. Now that we're out here in the channel, it's blowing upstream. So it's not going to be a problem for us right now. But if it gets worse than this, we're going to have a hard time with it. I'm hoping we got plenty more time before it really gets going. Something about this time of year, man. It seems to be that way every year. March in East Tennessee, we get a lot of wind for some reason. I mean, it'll be flat calm at 7 a.m. and by lunchtime, you've got a hurricane going on. I don't know what it is about March, but it's just every year. Speaking of weather, though, and all that, I did see something sad. I don't know when it happened. It must have been fairly recently because the story popped up on my social media the other day. But, we got a fish. We just put that live bait out. We already hooked up on it here. We just got it back out there. Seeing all kinds of fish on bottom that ain't touching our dragging baits, but up in the water column, we're getting bit non-stop when I can keep a bait on the hook. One thing about this kind of fishing, it's cheap, man. You don't need any fancy tackle to do what we're doing. I mean, it's literally a hook. I've got a swivel from my main line, which is braid, to my fluorocarbon, which is my leader, and a hook tied on the end. And the shad, well, you can't say they're free because you got to buy the cast net, but still easy. You can get shad anywhere. I mean, any boat ramp, creek, pocket, cove, you're going to find some shad somewhere in it. You spend a little time. That right there, tiny old kitty. But it's a very simple, easy way to fish, and a day like today, it's proven to be pretty productive. It's kept us entertained here. It's kept me entertained anyway. I've lost track how many catfish, plus the drum. Could have maybe kept that drum. It's a little bigger than what I want to fool with cutting. But we could have kept him. Got plenty of skipjack though. And that last video, I was really doing good on the skipjack, so I feel pretty good about that. Well, like I was saying, sad news. Margie Ison died, y'all. I don't know when it happened. I didn't click on the story, but it popped up on my social media. She had passed away. And that's if you grew up in or around East Tennessee, that's sad news. She was a big part of TV, my whole upbringing. She was a weather lady, not a meteorologist. She was a weather lady. And her weather forecasting was as good as anybody out there. She didn't need no meteorology degree, if I can get my words out. She didn't need no damn Doppler radar. She had a board. There was a big picture of Tennessee, and if it was going to be sunny in your area, she'd put a sticker up there with a sun. If it was going to rain, she'd put a rain cloud over your county, and you knew the weather for that day. No fancy equipment, just intuition. And I had talked about her back in the summer on one of them videos, and I didn't know. I'd wondered if she's been off TV for years. I mean, seen her on TV in 20 years probably, but I'd wondered what had happened to her, if she was still alive, and again, my mind, once it's gone and out of my mind, I don't think about it again. I can't remember nothing, so I never did look her up. But I saw recently that she had passed. I saw the news story thing on social media recently. I don't know when she passed, but I assume it was fairly recently. But sad news if you grew up in East Tennessee, folks. Old Margie Ison, the weather lady. The last weather lady. Now everybody's a meteorologist and can't predict the weather for nothing. You can't trust a meteorologist, but a weather lady. Now, I don't know where Margie Ison got her weather reports from. Did she see it in the clouds? Did she feel it in her bones? Did she just make stuff up? Who knows? I don't know how a weather lady gets their weather forecast, but she was as accurate as anybody. So, rest in peace, Margie. She was a big part of my upbringing. She was on Channel 10 for the longest time, and then I think she went to, I believe it's Channel 6 for a part of her career. I don't know what it takes to be a meteorologist. I had one get mad at me. I talked about how they ain't worth a damn and can't predict the weather for nothing on a video, and I guess there was a meteorologist that watched that video, and so they was on, I believe it was either Facebook or Instagram one. I was on there writing me an essay about how I didn't know a damn thing. But I don't know what it takes to be a meteorologist. I mean, I'm sure it's some kind of fancy degree, but is it a 2-year community college program? Is it a master's degree type thing, like a PhD? I don't know what it takes. However long their education program is, it ain't long enough for them to figure out how to predict the damn weather. I'll tell you that. They need to stay in school a little bit longer. At least the weather forecasters I've seen. They ain't worth a damn. You turn on one news report, they call for a dusting to 2 inches of snow, and the next one might have 3 to 6 inches. Like when we have these snowstorms come through, and we don't get much snow here where I live. Maybe once, twice a year it'll snow. But boy, when it does, that's why everybody goes and cleans out the grocery stores, gets all the milk and bread and stuff. And I don't know how they're going to eat a milk sandwich, but that's always what disappears, milk and bread from the grocery stores. But they do it. They panic because you never know what the hell's coming. They can't predict how much snow you're going to get. And I was talking to a woman the other day. I don't know how we got on the conversation of snow, but she was from Indiana and had spent a big part of her life in Nebraska. And she was talking about how she don't like to drive in the snow here. And I was like, well, hell, you grew up in the snow. You ought to be just comfortable driving in it. And she said it's different. Because she said, like out there in Nebraska, everything's flat. So when you're driving in snow out there, everything's, you know, everything's flat. Everything's on the same grade. Here in East Tennessee, we got all these hills. And so you get on a snowy or a slick road, and you're going down a hill around a curve where the road's setting at a slant. You know, all these northerners and stuff make fun of us not being able to drive in foul weather. But I think a lot of it's maybe just the roads and the grade and stuff like that. A lot of them are driving in flat conditions, and we're not. And so she kind of validated that. But it could just also be, too, because she's a woman driver, and y'all know how those are. Boy, I just offended all y'all's girlfriends and wives when I said that, didn't I? I can say that right now because my girlfriend just had a little fender bender the other day. You know what, nothing bad. it actually wasn't her fault. She was pulling out of a parking space, and I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly how it happened, but she says she was backing out of a parking space, and I guess got part of the way out, and the woman just kept coming and hit her. So she ended up having a little dent in her car. The other woman didn't have any damage, but the other woman still wanted the cops called, even though it was her that hit my girl. Like, my girlfriend was, I guess she was backing out and stopped, and the other woman was backing out and just kept coming and backed into her. So the other woman admitted like it was her fault, that she was but she wanted a police report for insurance purposes. And my girlfriend, she's ready to go. She had just picked up food and was ready to come home. She's like, well, I'll just give you my insurance information. We can exchange all that, whatever. Because my girlfriend, she ain't even gonna turn it in to get her car fixed. Because her car, she's got a 2013, and it's a small dent in the back. Like, it ain't nothing worth fooling with. Like I said, this woman didn't have any damage to her vehicle, but anyway, this woman wanted the cops, so the cops show up out there and basically told the woman the same things, like, you can either exchange your insurance or I can fill out a report. But he said, if I fill out a report, I'm going to have to write you a ticket because your tags are expired. This woman's tags was expired on the car. So then she thought better of the whole police report thing. But yeah, since my girlfriend's had a recent fender bender, you better believe the woman driver jokes have been nonstop at my house, buddy. I have been relentless about it. Let's get these dead shad out of here right quick. Some of them are starting to die up top, and when some of them start to die, it'll change the pH, and the rest of them will start to die. We've still got probably a dozen or more left in there too. We can always, is that a fish? That's a fish, folks. That's a fish on our head bait. That's a fish. First I thought it was the rod was moving so slow, I thought we might be coming through something rough on the bottom there, but no, this is a fish. We've caught a bunch of fish now on the live bait, but this is going to be the first hookup on our cut bait, and we're just now out here on the edge of this flat. We're out here in the area where I've been getting my better cats lately. And as soon as we get out here, boom, rod goes down. 28 feet deep here where we're at. This one ate the head bait. I got the head and the chunk. So what I'll do, now that we're kind of out here where I really want to spend our time fishing, we get this fish reeled in, I'll go ahead and switch out the bait, even if it still looks good. It's been on here for almost an hour and a half, so we'll go ahead, put a new head bait on. I'll go ahead and cut a chunk too. We'll reel in our other one, and we'll just spruce everything up. Now's a good time to do it. Tighten my drag just a smidge. This fish is suddenly gotten bigger, folks. I think he's just letting me pull him. He don't feel like he's really fighting. Oh, I'm pulling him sideways. He's gotten wrapped up in the line, I think. This looks like it's going to be a fun sizer. Got a fun sizer that's somehow... Okay, now I think he come out of it. Oh, he's got another line too. Why'd you have to swim that way for, fish? Let's see what we can do with this other line. I hope he just come out of it. Okay. He's bigger than I thought. We'll put up the front camera mount for him. No, he's in that other line. Yo, ornery thing, what'd you have to go get mow the line for? We've reeled in all them smaller cats today, and ain't a damn one of them got tangled up in nothing. And you come along and go all the way on the other side of the kayak to get the other line. That's just rude. But it is nice to see you, kitty. Damn nice to see you. Let me do this real quick here, folks. We've got a chance here to untangle this before he starts flopping around in the floor and gets everything tied up. Perfect. Problem solved. Now let me just, well, now I've got, okay, there it goes. Let me get the front camera mount set up. He's talkative. Let me set you all up here. Of course, where's that sun at? It's behind us. Ain't gonna get a good picture. Let me push that button there. Okay, there we go. Oh, the camera's crooked. Y'all hold that camera straight, would you? If y'all gonna be my photographer, at least hold the camera straight. Fun sizer, folks. We get out here, edge of this flat. I've got to adjust our position here a little bit now. We've gotten off course a little bit fighting this fish, but we get out here where I've been catching fish at, kind of in the same type of general area. Rod immediately goes down. That's a good sign. We know it's an active day based on what we've been getting on them live baits. There he is. Let's let him go. See you, buddy. Hey, gone. Finally got us a good quality, man. Finally. It took an hour and a half. This creek's been productive for numbers, at least on the live bait. But the fish we've seen there on the graph either ain't been interested in the skipjack, or if they're back there, maybe they're eating all them damn shad. We just had the wrong bait on, potentially. But we get out here, edge. I'm gonna show you this right fast. Now that we out here. Best I can anyway. You see where the contours come together real tight? That signifies the drop, which is going off out here to the right into the old river channel. We're gonna work this, the top edge. We're gonna work it, and we're gonna work it all the way up through here. So let's get our cutting board here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut us a new skipjack. We'll get everything spruced up. And get hold of it. Slippery little devils. There we go. All right. Yes, folks. Hey, we done got us a good one, man. Got us a good fish. Get us some more baits out here. I'm optimistic, buddy. Just the fact, I mean, yeah, we were catching small cats, right, on that live bait rod, but we're getting so many of them. I'm inclined to believe it's an active day. Like, it's an active bite. I think when we're going to come across fish, they're going to be willing to eat. This bait here, I mean, you squeeze it, it's still got a lot of blood in it. If we were short on bait, or if I was fishing more than 2 rods, I would totally leave that bait out. But the fact that we are only fishing 2 rods and that I've got plenty of bait for us, we're not going to run out. No reason to really be conservative and leave that bait on there for hours and hours. Okay, there it is, head bait. We'll get it going out. We lost our cast net rope overboard there. We got all kinds of stuff going on, folks. Let me get this line going out. And now, while we're doing that, let's reel this one in and switch out the bait on it and just spruce it up too. We'll have 2 fresh baits out, and then I'll probably check our live bait also, just to make sure, in case it got hit or something. Because I wouldn't have felt it while I was fighting the other fish. Let's see what all this mess is here. One thing about these brush guards, they definitely catch a lot of garbage. The brush guards catch brush. All right. Throw that out. Put our other chunk on. Them scale, always get your scales off there, y'all. You get scales on your barb or your hook point, make sure you take those off. They will cost you a fish very quickly. It's amazing how something so small can prevent you from getting hooked up, but it will do it. Clean our cutting board. Cleaning the house here, y'all. I can't get y'all to pick up after yourselves, so gotta do it my damn self. All right, I'm gonna let out a little bit more line. Let's go ahead and flip this one over here on that rod. Let me just check this, see if I can feel him on there. Can't feel him. No, I couldn't feel him, but he is still on there. Let's see if he's still alive. Yeah, he's still alive. We've been robbed so many damn times, I thought we'd been robbed again. Okay. Water temp's a little warmer out here too. You can see it's 48 degrees out here. I'm gonna flip our bail over here on this one now. So we're pulling our dragon rigs again, and just a little bit more on this one. It'll be interesting to see, now that we're out here on this flat, and if there is current, we're going to be going into it. It'd be interesting to see if we end up catching fish again on our live bait rig. That last trip, I mean, we pulled live baits the whole time. Never got the first bite on them. In this same type, it wasn't this same spot, but the same type of area out, just a deeper flat right off the main river, and didn't get anything on the live shad. So it'd be interesting to see now that we're out of that creek and out here in the current a little more. It'll be interesting to see if we continue to get bit or if that bite kind of dies off. But hopefully the bigger catfish bite will pick up. At least I hope. That's what we're here to really catch today, folks, the big ones. Let's get rid of that shad there too. And if the live shad bite does keep going, and we were to either run out here because of we've used them all, or maybe the other ones die, it won't take us long to get more shad if we want to. As many shad at schools as we've come across, we could have thrown a net on any of them to get more. That's one of the good things about having a cast net and the ability to throw it, is you're always going to be able to get bait. Look at that, something's after that head bait. Something nipped it. Just a nip. But skipjack you got to catch with rod and reel. And it can be fun if the bite is on, but there are times when skipjack get a little bit more difficult to find, that you got to put a lot of time into them, cover water. And with shad, especially if you're not picky about the size of shad that you're using, you can always get shad. Now, wintertime can often be a little bit more difficult with them, because sometimes as the weather changes here in the winter, it'll fluctuate between the backwaters being warmer than the main channel and the backwaters being colder than the main channel. And when the backwaters are colder, those bait schools will oftentimes move either further out in the creek or out into the channel. But spring through fall, when you've got warmer temperatures, warmer water conditions, you can always find some shad. And, well, here where I fish anyway, Tennessee River, you can always find some shad in these backwater areas. You'll see them, you go out at a boat ramp, you'll oftentimes see them along the concrete, around bridges, any shallow coves. If you've got like a boat ramp or a public park and they've got a light on at night, like a street light, you'll find shad. You'll see them in the light there. So you can always find you some shad. Now, if you're wanting 1 pound plus gizzard shad, well, you're going to have to work a little harder to keep yourself on those all the time. But if you're just wanting to come out and bait a hook and catch some fish, shad's an easy resource for you if you can throw a net. Now, I've got a video on my channel from probably 2016, 2017, 2018, I don't know. It's been a long time ago. But I had made a how-to video on how I throw a cast net from the kayak. Now, there's a million videos on how to throw a cast net, a lot of tutorial videos. I'm not necessarily, I mean, of course I want you to watch mine, but it's not really necessary to watch mine. Just know that if you want to learn how to throw a net, there's a ton of resources available for you for free on the internet, on YouTube. And it's best to go through and watch and try several different techniques. You're not going to buy a net and master casting it or throwing it on the first throw. You're going to have to get out in your yard, driveway, whatever, and get out there and practice. And you're probably going to get frustrated. You're probably going to struggle with it. I did. When I first started throwing a net, I had a hard time with it. And it took me trying several different techniques before I finally found one that worked for me. And that will probably be the case for you. You'll watch several videos and try different techniques and just struggle, and eventually you will find one that it clicks for you. It just works well. And the one I use, it was like that for me. I had tried several other ones and I just couldn't. They either didn't work for me at all, or I couldn't consistently get it to open up. And then I found that, and it just worked. And I was trying, because with me fishing out of a kayak, it's obviously a more narrow platform and stuff. Sometimes, depending on how the wind is blowing, when I'm working into a creek or a cove or wherever I'm getting shad, I may have to work down one side of the bank. And so because of that, I wanted to be able to throw with both arms. Because I can't just, if I'm, let's say I'm working down this direction in a creek or a cove, and I need to throw off this side of the kayak, well, I can't just turn my body, stand sideways in the kayak. I'm going to end up in the water. I need to be able to be lined up on the side that I'm throwing on. And so I wanted to be able to throw with either arm because of that. That way, if I'm going down and I want to throw off the right side of the kayak, I'd throw left-handed. If I want to throw off the left side of the kayak, I'd throw right-handed. I wanted to be able to do both. What I realized, and this is what I'd recommend to you if you're starting out throwing cast net, try both arms. Because what I realized was that I'm better at throwing a cast net with my non-dominant arm. Like, I'm left-handed naturally. I go bowling, I'm throwing left-handed. I throw a baseball, left-handed. But cast net, I'm way better and way more consistent throwing right-handed. So I would recommend trying both, even your non-dominant arm, just to see if you happen to throw better with that. And if you are going to be fishing out of a kayak, and a lot of you watch my channel here, you're kayak fishermen, I would recommend, as you get better at throwing the net, practice with the other arm too. That way you can throw with both, so that when you do find yourself in a situation where you need to throw, for whatever the conditions are that day, you need to throw with the other arm that you can. But once you get it down and you're able to throw a net consistently, you're always going to be in bait. Like, you will always have an option for bait. Now, shad, I've said this in a bunch of videos, it's more of a wintertime bait for me, at least for big catfish. When the water temps are like they are now, 48 degrees here, up to low 50s, shad, gizzard shad, it's an excellent bait for big cats. In the summer months, water temps are warmer, I will still catch fish when I'm using shad, but I tend to get smaller fish. My bigger fish in the summer months, I just do better with skipjack and white bass. I don't do as well with gizzard shad in the summer months. But when I can't get white bass or I can't get skipjack in the summer, I can always throw that net and get me something. And you don't necessarily have to have, when it comes to cast nets, there's a big range of prices and, well, there's a big range of quality too, when you get right down to it. Your cheaper nets, like this one here that I've got in the floor of the kayak right now. This one here is a cheapest net I could get. I believe this is Academy I got this one at. This thing, because it's so cheap, it tears very easily. You get hung in a rock or a stump or log or something, it's going to rip. I've fixed this net a few different places where I've tore it. The better quality nets, the more expensive ones, they're not going to tear as easily. But buying cast nets can get expensive too, because accidentally you throw over something that you can't see, a stump or a brush pile or whatever, and you lose your net. Well, you're out. Even the cheap one, like this cheap one here, I say it's cheap. I think it's like $50 or $60. So it ain't cheap, but it's cheap in comparison to the other cast nets that are $150, let's say, for the same size. But it can still get expensive when you throw over something that you just don't see, and you will. But when it comes to, like, if you're just wanting to net smaller shad, man, you're always going to find them around docks, boat ramps, especially if you go out there at night or when it's still dark and there's a street light or something. You'll see them and can throw over them, and so you can make a net last a long time. And the net, I mean, if the other option is buy your bait, like stop at a bait shop that maybe sells shad or whatever, the net will pay for itself very quickly in those situations. Even if you're like a crappie fisherman or an ultralight fisherman, you like just using smaller live baits, hell, how much are minnows? $3 a dozen, I think, at my local bait shop. I think minnows are $3 a dozen, and I think shiners are $6 or $7 a dozen. So it don't take long. It don't take many trips to the bait shop before your net has paid for itself. And, of course, going to a bait shop, you've oftentimes got to go out of your way to get there, or you've got to go during the hours that they're open, which may not be when you're wanting to fish, right? Like if you're getting out super early and you got to wait till 6 or 7 o'clock when the bait shop opens, well, you might have missed out on a bite potentially when you could have just thrown a net and put them in a bucket or whatever. As far as storing your shad goes, today I've got this just 5-gallon bucket. No aerator, no nothing. That's fine for right now. Water temp's cold like they are. It's a comfortable enough day out here, but that water in that bucket's cold. And the colder you keep your water, the better your bait's going to do. If we stuck an aerator on there, those shad would do a little better. If we switched out the water, they would do a little better. But keeping shad alive in a small container for a long period of time, especially during the warmer months, incredibly difficult. So if you're fishing out of a kayak, a large bait tank is not an option. If you're in a boat, then you can either buy a bait tank or build you one. There's plenty of videos on how to build a suitable bait tank. I've got another one at my house. I probably should bring it out at some point and just put it on a newer video. I've put it on videos in the past, but I need to put it on a newer video for the newer audience. But I built a very cheap shad tank. And it's not going to keep your shad alive for multiple days, but it will keep them alive while you're on the water, even in the warmer months. And what it is, I took a 5-gallon bucket, just like this one, and I've hooked a bilge pump to it. The bilge pump goes into the water, and there's a hose that I've run to connect to the bucket itself. So the bilge pump pulls water from the lake or river into the bucket. And then at the top of the bucket, up in this area, I've got a hole cut out and another hose that goes off the other side. So the bilge pump brings water from the river into the bucket, fills it up, and as that water comes in, the old water, or it circulates because of the pressure going in there, and then the other water, the excess, drains out. And so it's a way to keep the weight down in the kayak. You've only got 5 gallons in the kayak at any given time, but the water is constantly circulating. It's constantly fresh water. The shad in there, they're being oxygenated with the aeration from the water coming in, and they don't have a chance to. When they get stressed, they start shedding their slime and their scales, and that changes the pH level of the water. When the water's constantly being flushed out, new water coming in, the bucket there, the tank, it doesn't have that opportunity to build up the slime and the scales and stuff. It can't build up in there. So that's an option for you. Now, it's a bigger contraption because you've got the bilge pump and the hoses to deal with. You've also got to have a small battery to power the bilge pump. And you've also got the noise, because the bilge pump is going to make a little water or make a little noise, and the water draining out is going to make a little noise. So it's more of a hassle to deal with. But if you're somebody that really likes fishing with shad and you want to keep them in good a condition as possible, I would definitely recommend building something like that. And it's very cheap to do. A 5-gallon bucket costs a few dollars at hardware store, Walmart, wherever. And you can build a lid for it. I used the 5-gallon bucket lid that comes with them, that's included in the price, and cut a hole in the middle of it and put a kayak hatch on there. And you can get them kayak hatches, like a 6-inch kayak hatch on Amazon for $9.99, $14.99, something like that. So now you've got a lid with a hinge that opens up real easy. Bilge pump, I don't know what those run these days, but you get the smallest bilge pump you can get. You don't want oh, fish. Hold on, we got one hitting it there. He nipped it a couple times, but didn't commit. just a tease. But your bilge pump, you don't want a super powerful one, right? You know, like you don't want to blow them shad out of the tank. Like you want the smallest bilge pump you can get, which I think is probably 500 gallons an hour, 250 gallons an hour. I don't know. There may be some even smaller than that. Maybe you can look around. I can't remember what it is. It's been so long since I built it. I've had it for years. But a small bilge pump, it's not very much money. And then you just need a battery to power it with, which again, doesn't have to be a big battery. Or if you're in a motorized kayak, like we could just run the cord from the bilge pump and connect it to our battery for our trolling motor or a fish finder. Either that would be fine too. So it's a relatively cheap setup. I mean, your bucket, your hatch, you can buy them hoses at the hardware store to connect the bilge pump, and the bilge pump itself. I mean, you're looking at less than $50, not counting your battery, and you've got a tank that'll keep shad alive for you in a kayak. Now, it's only, again, this is only going to be when you're in the kayak. You're not going to take them shad home and use that setup and keep them alive for days and days like you could if you had a 100-gallon tank with filtration system and all that and filters. Like if you want to keep shad alive for days, you need something like that. But you can't fit that in a kayak. You can't have that kind of weight in here. That 5-gallon bucket, I mean, if you got 5 gallons of water at 8 pounds a gallon, that's 40 pounds. So that's manageable in a kayak, but when you're done fishing at the end of the day, you got to do something with that bucket. So if you're going to take them home, you're not going to leave that bucket in your kayak when you bouncing down the road, right? You're going to take it out and put it in your vehicle. Well, 5-gallon bucket, 40 pounds, that's manageable. That's no problem. But let's say you want to put a 20-gallon tank in your kayak. Well, now you got 160 pounds of water. And unless you're daggone Hercules, you ain't carrying 160-pound tank from the kayak up to your vehicle and back and forth. Even if you can, hell, you ain't going to want to. That's going to get old real quick. So I recommend just, if you're going to use shad, try to get them, if you want to use live shad anyway, get them the day of that you're fishing. Have a smaller tank. Wintertime, it don't really matter if the water cold. You can keep a few alive in a small container without anything extra. Summer months, if it's important to you, if you want to do it, then build you some kind of tank. Which is, it's simple to do too. Like you don't need, even that tank that I mentioned, like I'm not mechanically inclined at all. But it don't take any talent. I mean, your wiring, you're just crimping 2 ends on the end of your wire, however you want to connect it to your battery, whether it's ring terminals or if you've got some other connector. It's 2 crimps for that part and you're done. As far as the connecting the hoses and whatnot to your bucket, I mean, you just need a hole saw or a hole saw bit there for your drill to run those in there. So it's very simple to do. It's very easy. You don't have to be mechanically inclined to do it. And thank goodness, because I sure as hell wouldn't have been able to if you did have to be. I can't work with tools hardly. I'm just not good at that stuff. Everybody's got things they're good at and things that they're bad at, and for me, I just can't half operate tools. Hell, at this point in time, I can't even hardly get to my tools. My shed is so packed with crap right now, folks. And I don't mean actual crap, but just crap. I got to get in there and clean that thing out. I need to have me a yard sale with a bunch of stuff in there. I keep talking about it. I did a yard sale video for my channel members, but I got a bunch of stuff left, and I'd only done the yard sale video for my channel members for just stuff that was in my house. All the stuff that's in my shed that I need to get rid of, I ain't even listed it yet, so I need to do that. It needs to be a priority. One of these warmer days where we got a lot of wind in the afternoon or something, I need to get out there and do that, because if I do need to get to my tools for something, I can't even hardly get to it. I got to step over a bunch of stuff and move stuff. I want to try to get to a point where I can get all that crap that I don't need out of my shed and get everything that I do need organized in there. That way I can just walk in and everything's all neat and put where it's supposed to go. Like, I pretty much at this point, even though it's a disaster zone in there, I pretty much know where everything's at. I just can't easily get to it. And so I need to be able to get to it. I need to move some stuff. Like, there's some stuff too I want to keep. I just need to do something with it. Like Daphne's dog crate, for instance. Like, she don't use a crate anymore. But it's out there in my shed. It's in the way. And it breaks down. It's one of them crates that allegedly you can fold up. But it's been so long since I put it together, I can't remember how you break it down. So I've got the whole crate out there in the middle of my shed floor. I've got my kayak cart for my Old Town kayak. It takes up so much space. And I've used that thing. I bet I've used, you could probably count on one hand how many times I've used that cart. Like, I've got to sell that thing. The last time I needed to use, well, the last time I used my Old Town kayak that I didn't put in at a boat ramp where I could back it down on the trailer, the last time I didn't even use the cart. I just dragged the damn thing on the ground. Like, there's no reason for me to have that cart. So I gotta sell a bunch of stuff. There's probably a bunch of stuff in my shed too that I could just take to the dump, because it's just a bunch of trash in there, or stuff that's gone bad. Here we got a problem, folks. The wind is starting to pick up. A gust just hit me here, and we're still okay for now, but the back end of the kayak's starting to swing a little bit. Let me pull up, give me a second here, would you? I want to pull up the generation schedule. Let me look and see if they're running flow and how much they're running, because if they're not moving any water, we can just turn around and go into the wind out here. If they are running water, then that's going to be a problem for us, because we're not, like I said, I don't want to move super fast. Give me a second here. Service here ain't ideal. Yeah, they're moving a lot of water today. Yeah. So we've probably got, I'm guesstimating, we're probably going into 0.6, 0.7 mile an hour current flow right now. Would be my guess. So for us to go the other way, we would have to go at least slightly faster than the current flow. And that's going to be too fast going that direction. So I think what I'm going to do, we're going to stay the course for now. Because right now, the wind has picked up a little bit, but we're able to keep the kayak straight, and we're able to maintain our speed. That motor, I've got the speed set for 0.5 mile an hour. So like when we got out here, we're going into the current, the motor sped up to keep us on that 0.5 mile an hour speed. But if the wind starts pushing us forward faster, then the motor will slow down to try to compensate, to try to get us back to 0.5 mile an hour. And that's what will cause the kayak to spin, because kayaks always want to spin into the wind. Every kayak, no matter brand, model, whatever, they all want to turn into the wind. And that's what will get us all cattywampus, because I was irresponsible and didn't bring a drift sock. Which, had we brought a drift sock, and we've got that going off behind us, while we've got 3 lines behind us, it's going to be more tangles. We may have to do this too. Let me let out a little bit more line on these rods, because with us going into, I didn't realize the current was going to be moving that much. We may have our dragging rigs, they may be higher up off the bottom if I didn't let out enough line to compensate for that. I definitely want them things on bottom for sure, so we'll let out just a little bit more to make sure that we are definitely down there on bottom. But I guess what we'll do, if the wind continues to pick up, we'll just go back in that creek. And we could do you know what we could do? I'm thinking out loud here. Coming up with plan B, I'm flipping bells over. We know there's catfish up in the water column back there eating the live shad. We've caught enough of them now, we know. We could take one of our dragging rigs off, put a balloon on, and pull a piece of cut bait higher in the water column too, a larger piece of cut bait. Keep one on bottom, pull another piece higher up, and see if we could bust a bigger fish on the cut bait higher up. That's an option. We could also just keep doing what we're doing, work farther back into that creek, see what's going on. I mean, we were catching fish on the live bait immediately once we got started out there. So maybe today, maybe there are some farther back up in there. Right now though, we're still good with the wind how it is. We're able to do what we want to do right here. So we're gonna keep doing this, but I just know them higher winds are forecasted today. Now Margie Ison, she could have told me exactly when them winds were gonna hit, but these meteorologists, they're rough estimate. Old Margie, rest in peace. I should have clicked on that article, see how old she was. Now I'm curious how old she was. I mean, I guess it'd be nice to know what she died from, but I mean, she had to be probably 80s or 90s. So at that age, it's pretty much could have been anything. I'm nosy like that. Folks, man, when I see a news article of somebody, usually if it's a news article on something or social media, it's somebody famous that's died, right? I mean, you don't, some random person that you've never met before, they don't usually make the rounds on social media. But if it's a movie star, an athlete, something like that, there's going to be a post about it. I am always nosy. Like if some movie star, they're 40 years old and they unexpectedly die, like I want to know what's up. I hate it when it's a situation like, it's one of them articles you click on and you go through all the pop-ups and it's like, such and such dead at age 40. And that's all you get from it. Like, tell me, if you're gonna make that post, tell me why they died. Tell me how they died. Inquiring minds, it's gonna come out, but you gotta click on 12 more articles over the course of the next week to eventually find out what happened. And maybe that's part of their ploy. Maybe that's what they want you to do, is being subjected to all those pop-up advertisements and stuff. That's probably what it is. Yeah, somebody dies, they got a profit off of it, of course. Here comes another bass boat right here. He ain't gonna catch nothing today. He waved, I'm gonna wave back. He's a nice guy, very friendly. He come out of that next creek up yonder, passed by 8 million fish to go somewhere downriver where he ain't gonna catch nothing. And back to the live bait topic for a second here. That's something else I've spent a fair amount of time thinking about and trying to comprehend and understand. Live bait for bass fishing is frowned upon, right? Like it's kind of, if you use live bait for bass, you ain't cool. Like you gotta be using these fancy lures, chatter baits, spinner baits. Gotta have 58 different rods, all with different reels matched for a certain technique of a lure, right? Like that's what you gotta do to be a cool bass fisherman. And in bass tournaments, live bait is not allowed, right? It's banned. And I get that for tournament purposes, like if you want to set whatever rules you want to as far as what lures can or can't be used, like fine, I get it. But here's what I don't understand. You see these bass fishermen out pre-fishing and practicing for tournaments, trying to figure out like where they need to be. And of course, with the live scopers now, a lot of them they can spend some of their practice time just looking without actually having to cast out lures. Like they can get out there and not have to stick fish and actually put a hook in them to kind of figure out and look around and stuff and figure out where they want to go in tournaments. But for a big percentage of these people who fish the tournaments, especially the kayak tournaments, they'll go out and pre-fish and just be beating the banks and throwing their lures and stuff, trying to find a location that they want to go for the tournament. None of them ever use live bait. And hey, look right here. Hey, look right here. Look right here, buddy. Fish. We got another one on the head bait, and that feels pretty good. We are moving into the current. That is going to make things feel bigger. We got us another one on here though, folks. 2 on the head bait. The chunk over there, since we've got out here to this flat, it ain't being touched. This fish here, he's coming at us now. Nice of him to swim into the current and help us out. This is a courteous fish right here. He's like that bass fisherman that waved at us. Very courteous, very polite. Now he's wanting to take a break. Let us do the work. Listen, it's going to be tough to judge how big he is with what we're pulling into here, but hey, regardless, it's another bite. Happy to get him. Well, I'll be getting pretty close to seeing him here. Now he's wanting to pull a little bit. Sometimes I think these fish, when you're dragging baits and you got a lot of line out, they take a break about midway in the fight and just let you pull them in. They're like, man, Justin, the round's over. You're supposed to be taking a break. Something's got our other rod. Look right here, look right here. Oh, that one's pulling too, buddy. We're doubled. We're doubled up. Y'all grab that other rod over there for me, would you? Grab that other rod. We're gonna get this one up here and take a look at him. Oh, he's stripping line over there, man. That one's pulling hard. I just want to get a look at this one. We'll get a look at this one. We'll put him up in the rod holder and we'll grab the other one over there since I can't get y'all to help me out. Y'all should grab that dang rod. You're my fishing partners out here today. Get that dang thing, buddy. This is another fun sizer right here. Let me get him up here just a little bit closer. And then we're gonna pick up on this. We must have went through some fish, man. Yeah, that right there, folks, that's a fun sizer. Let me put that rod back in the rod holder. Now let's pick up on this one. Yes, buddy, doubled. This one here was taking some line at one point. We are 24 feet deep right now. Oh, here comes the wind. The wind's gonna knock us out of fishing this at some point here, y'all. We're gonna roll with it while we can, though, buddy. I'd like, if y'all was a good fishing partner, you'd get that other fish over there unhooked and released and get that bait going back out. We could have a whole string of fish right through here that we could be catching. We ain't got no baits down there right now on bottom. This fish is coming at us. Oh, dragonfish, buddy, getting it done here. The live bait out. Once we got out here in the main channel, y'all, the live bait bite ain't done worth a diddly do. Just like the same way it was the other day when I was fishing the main channel. Of course, that bait's probably, with the current, it's probably up on the surface, I bet. Back there. This right here is going to be a fun sizer too. Yep. No, it ain't either, folks. That's a striper. We got a striper right here. Here I did. I thought we might get us some stripers on these live baits, and we got it on the dang cut bait dragon rig. That don't happen often, but it does occasionally, and we got us one here, folks. He's fired up too. I'm gonna go ahead and land him because I want to get a picture with him. I don't catch many accidental stripers anymore. Used to get them pretty regularly back when I bottom fished. Come here. There we go. All right, man. All right, folks, look at that. That is a nice fish right there. Nice fish. You know what I want to do? I'm going to turn into the light here so I can get a picture of this fish, y'all. Bear with me a second here. Catfish, hey, wait on me a minute. We got a striper. Old Catfish can wait. We got a special guest here today. All right. Nice, buddy. Look at that. Is that awesome or what? Accidental striper catch, but I'm happy to have it. That one took me by surprise. That's why he was pulling. That's why he was ripping line there while we was fighting the other one. That drag was peeling. That's why. These are powerful fish. All right, I don't want to keep him out of the water long. These things don't do well if you don't get them back in quick. So let's see if we can get a look at him here from this angle. Nice, man. Nice. All right. Oh, yeah, he's ready to go. He's still kicking. The colder the water is, the better they do. They don't do well in it's hot water, but in the cold, they typically kick off pretty strong. All right. Let's now, let me hit spot lock here for a second while we get all straightened out. This thing here, buddy, he's got a mouthful of that skipjack. He ought to be about wore out at this point, as long as he's been waiting on that striper. Come on up here. There we go, get that head bait back. That's another good fish, buddy. He's long. camera's crooked, but that's all right. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this fish because I want to get some baits back out there. Another fun sizer. He's got mud. I don't know if you can see there or not, all up his back. He's been down in the mud at some point recently. Nice. All right, let go of my thumb, would you? There we go. Oh, I splashed myself right in the face, y'all. That water's cold. That'll wake you up. If a striper didn't already have me woke up good, buddy, that and I done it. Gosh, it's running down my neck and everything. Hey, you know what I'm gonna do over that striper? Fist pump it, by gosh. That's the first one in a while, first accidental striper catch in quite some time. I used to catch them a lot more frequently. Let me get myself back over here situated and we'll get us reset again. I just wanted to get a picture of that striper and I needed to be facing the sun to get a good quality picture. Okay, let me get this set. Get our speed going again, and we're gonna get these lines out quick, fast, and in a hurry, buddy. I'm gonna put on fresh baits. Okay, that should have us at a half a mile an hour. But I was trying to say, I used to catch a fair number of stripers when I would bottom fish. And by bottom fish, I mean like anchor down and cast baits out. Like Carolina rig just on the bottom. I would catch a fair number of stripers just accidentally throughout the year when I would be fishing the upper portion of the river. And in recent years, I've gotten away from bottom fishing. Now, if I'm anchor fishing, I usually suspend baits. I don't do a lot of bottom fishing now. I like suspending baits. It's more fun for me for catfish. But the downside of that, I don't catch a lot of stripers suspended. Oh, well, stripers, you'll catch stripers that are suspended, but I mean like when I'm suspend fishing, I don't catch a lot of stripers. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about that kind of technique that you just don't get them very often, but I just don't. So because of that, and I don't fish upriver, that section of the river, as much as what I used to either. So anyway, I just don't catch a lot of stripers anymore. And so when I do get one, like that one there, and it's been a while, it's a nice surprise, folks. That made my day. That was a good one too. That was a real good fish. So let's get rid of this head, which again, we would totally catch more fish on that bait if we weren't just loaded up with skipjack here. I just don't want to waste time running baits that aren't in absolutely perfect condition when we can easily replace them and use something fresh. Get our chunk on. Let's get some line going out on this one too. All right, folks, we back on the move. We got it wrapped around the rod tip. There we go. Nice. Yeah, our live bait back there is we're probably not gonna catch any more on it now that we're out here in this flow. Probably need to be putting some kind of sinker or weight on that rig to kind of get it down. With us going into the current now, it's probably right up on the surface, I would say. And I think there's probably just less fish out here in this area that's going to be up in the water column. Not seeing a lot of the big schools of shad out here like I was back there in the creek. Yeah, we still got our shad on there. So he's still, let's switch him out. Let's at least switch him out for a more lively one here. Definitely need a more appropriate size hook too, but we've made the most of it today, man. It's been a good day. As long as we can just keep the wind to stay like it is, not get any worse, we're gonna keep going. How about that though? But that was a good striper. It was a very good quality striper. Swim off strong. Sometimes if you keep one out of the water too long, or if the water's warmer, they'll go belly up on you. And you really got to work them a little bit. You got to either hold them on the side of your kayak and let the current kind of go into their gills, let them catch their breath kind of, and they'll let you know when they're ready to swim off. Like they'll start kicking a little bit. That one there was kicking right from the start. The other thing you can kind of do that seems to be helpful with them is torpedo them. Like take them and kind of shove them down into the water head first. That way they get that rush of oxygen in their gills on the way down. And that'll kind of help them swim off a little stronger too. If you don't revive them though, they'll go belly up on you. It's unfortunate when that happens, but it does happen some, especially in the warmer months. But today, man, 47 degree, 48 degree water temps right here. Perfect time to be catching them and have them swim off strong. All right, I think we're good on that rod. That one there looks like it's fed out quite a bit too, so. All right. I'm gonna get us a little bit further to the left. We're kind of on the drop right now. Let's get us a little bit more over. Let me show you again here on the map for those of you that fast forwarded, kind of see where we're at. Over here to the left, we've got a deep flat, mid-20s down to high 20s in depth. Over here to the right is the main river channel. Drops off 60 feet deep. But right here, we're on the edge of the flat before it drops off, working the top edge. And we're just working it all the way up through here. So I suspect fish are probably, when they're just being dormant, resting, that they're getting down in the mud here on this flat. But oftentimes you'll have fish that are actively feeding and they'll work the edges, either the top edge, bottom edge, any break line on a ledge, they'll work it. Oftentimes in my videos, you see me going on the bottom edge of a ledge because that's a high productive area. But the flats lately have been producing a lot of fish, so we're working the top edge today. And looks like we're 22. We're back up here where we need to be now because we're 22 feet deep. So we're on the top now. We had slid off when I got reset there. If it hadn't been, like if that striper had been a catfish, I'd just kept us going, right? And just said, heck with the picture. But since the striper was it was one of them catches I haven't gotten in a while, I wanted to get a picture. Bear with me a second here, folks. My nose is pouring. It's that time of year. I got to get me on the allergy medicine here. Between the colder temperatures and just things getting ready to bloom, I'm telling you, it's a hard time to be a Tennessean. Every year. They say Tennessee's like the allergy capital of the world. That's what they call it. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they say. And they have never been wrong. Let's get a couple more of them dead shad out. But yeah, if you come in here and you wanting to catfish and you're wanting to hopefully catch you an accidental striper, like if you're specifically targeting striper, I'm the wrong person to ask, first off. Let me just clarify that. Like I'm not the person, I'm not a good resource for you on how to go out and target striped bass. But as far as catfishing, if you're hoping to maybe catch some catfish and while you're doing that, luck into some stripers, well, the closer to the dam that you can fish, the better you're going to be for them. Would definitely recommend fishing bottom for your catfish. Like, you know, you will catch some stripers drag. Like I've got videos on my channel in the past where I've caught striper dragging for catfish baits, but the bulk of my accidental striper catches through the years, probably, gosh, over 90%, is anchor fishing, casting baits out directly on bottom. Upper half of the river. Whatever reservoir you're on, like the upper half of it, on bottom. Cut bait. You know, you can use live bait, certainly, but stripers will eat the cut bait too. Best month to get an accidental striper? Probably historically, my best month is probably June. Water temps are warmer, you know, obviously it's harder to revive them and get them to swim off strong, but I think when a lot of the catfish go on the nest here in June, a lot of the stripers kind of take over the areas where the catfish were on those deeper part of the ledges. And so I used to get, when I would be anchor fishing and bottom fishing, I would get a lot of stripers in the month of June. But I've gotten away from it. I don't bottom fish like that very much anymore because I like suspend fishing better. It's easier for me to, one, you don't get snagged as much. Two, it's way more fun because you've got shorter amount of line out. I can fish more rods more easily in the kayak doing that way. And honestly too, I just don't fish that section of river very much anymore. It's not as good for catfishing there as what it used to be. For whatever reason, I don't know why that is, but I don't do as well there as I used to. And so I've kind of gotten, I think one thing is just fishing pressure. Back when I was filming there, I would never see any other catfishermen, ever. And then it got to where, and I guess part of that's my fault because my channel was obviously getting bigger and more views and stuff, and people were probably figuring out where I was fishing. So a lot of the people that maybe saw where I was at maybe started fishing there, and it got to a point where I'd fish some of those areas and I'd go out there and there'd be people, or I couldn't fish where I wanted because there was other fishermen, and so I just go other places. I mean, it ain't no big deal to me. I can fish anywhere. But I just kind of got away from going up there. And so between not fishing those areas very much anymore and the fact I don't bottom fish hardly ever, I just don't catch many stripers anymore. But by gosh, we got us one today. And it was a good one. I should have broke out my other camera for it. I'm filming this video with a DJI camera, which it's great from the standpoint that it don't overheat. It doesn't have glitches. It just works. Like, it's a very good quality camera. But when you go to get a picture off of video footage, like a still frame off of the footage, the picture quality sucks. I mean, it's really bad. So it's kind of grainy. GoPro, on the other hand, everything I mentioned that's good about the DJI is not good about the GoPro. It's got the glitches, it overheats if you run it continuously. Like, you've got problems with GoPro, but the video quality is better with a GoPro than a DJI. And when you get a still frame off of the video footage, it saves it in a very high quality. Like a high quality enough that you could print out a picture and enlarge it to a bigger size without losing the quality. Like, it's much better on the GoPro. So I should have probably done that, but no big deal. I've got a million other pictures, and that situation with the striper, I want to get it back in the water pretty quickly. I want it to swim off good. I got to keep it alive so that when the striper fishing guides come out here, they can kill it for their clients. That's basically what I'm doing. They say not to eat them things here because of the contamination, especially with the bigger ones like that, because they've obviously been exposed to it way longer. But people do it, man. People eat them. Them fishing guides, they let their clients keep them. Advisories be damned. So it is what it is. I just don't want to take the risk, man. I don't trust the government. Like, I ain't trying to get on no government conspiracy theory thing here, but like, I just don't trust the government anyway. And so I feel like if the contamination level is bad enough that the government is posting signs at all of our local boat ramps saying, don't eat these fish, and there'll be a list on there. Striped bass is always listed as one of them, and catfish too. And then there'll be another note under it like, these other fish limit to 1 meal per month, unless you're a pregnant woman or nursing or something like that, then don't eat it all. Like, if the government feels the contamination is so bad with these fish that they need to warn us, how bad really is it? And so I'm not a fish eater anyway. Like, I've never really had a taste for fish. Like, I like steak. I prefer cow to any other meat. But even if I was a fish eater, I wouldn't eat them out of here. That's just me. I don't want to. I know, and there'll be people argue with me. There always are. Well, my grandpappy's lived out here and ate fish out of there his whole life. He's smokes a pack of cigarettes every day and drinks a 12-pack every day, and is 85 years old and healthy as can be. Yes, people like that are, but I mean, I'm not going to take the chance. I'm just not going to do it. Because literally, I mean, just all that, you look it up, I can't remember the year off the top of my head. 2008, I can't remember. I don't remember what year. My memory sucks. I can't even remember a damn thing. But just Google. Don't click off this video. Do it. But if you think about it later, get on the Google machine and type in Kingston coal ash spill. And it was the worst ecological disaster in United States history. All that toxic sludge, at the steam plant, the levee gave way, and all that toxic sludge, millions of gallons, hundreds of millions of gallons of that toxic sludge, the coal ash, went flowing in to the river there. And all of that went into the water. And that hasn't been that many years ago that happened, folks. Now, they had a big gazillion-dollar cleanup, and they claim they got 90-some-odd% of it out. I don't know how they get to that number. Like, how do they, when all that stuff got into the river and got pushed downstream, How they can measure that they've gotten 90 some odd % out, I don't know. But they claim everything is safe now, other than those advisories was up long before the coal ash spill because of all the other pollutants in the water. But all of those people that cleaned up the spill, like the workers that come in, you won't see this on the news, and you'll have to search a little bit to find it. But you will see that all of those people have mostly died off. They got various forms of cancer, and they died. And there was a class action lawsuit that I'm pretty sure was settled. Like, it kind of got, it's amazing how stuff, you would think like that would be the kind of thing that would be all over the news, like a nightly story, until something like that is resolved. But it was one little blip about the lawsuit, and then like one little blip about a settlement or something a few years later, and that's it. Like, that gets swept under the rug. But you go looking for it, you'll find it. You'll find all the information that you want about the spill itself and all the damage it caused. And then you look a little deeper, and you'll find all the people that was part of the cleanup crew that's now dead because they got all these forms of cancer by being around and in that stuff. So you read all that and take all that in consideration, and then get out here on the river and get these fish that have, like these catfish, for instance, that will actually get down in the mud there on the bottom, like kind of bury themselves down in it a little bit. All that toxic sludge that has settled, where'd it settle to? To the bottom, down in that mud, where them catfish are getting down into, breathing that stuff in. Like, it's just, yeah, I'm not. People can argue with me about it, and they may eat out of here every day of the week and live long, healthy lives. More power to them. This old boy ain't doing it. I'm gonna stick to eating cow, by God. And I'll say this, like, the people who do choose to eat fish out of here, disregard the advisories, go ahead and more power to them. Like, it's their right to do so. They're within their limits to keep fish and consume them, and that's their choice. It's their life. It's their choice. I don't give a damn. I don't care if people eat contaminated fish, if they so choose to. I mean, we know smoking cigarettes increases your risk of lung cancer, right? They've put the little warning on the side of the packs. If people still choose to go and smoke, if they accept that risk and choose to do it, by all means, do it. Like, I'm not telling anybody how to live their life. It's your life, it's your body. Do whatever the hell you want to with it. But with all of that said, if you do choose to smoke and you get lung cancer or emphysema or whatever, COPD, I'm not going to feel a bit bad for you. Like, I'm not going to show you any sympathy. It's one thing if you're sitting at a red light and somebody T-bones your ass and you're a victim, like, you have no control over that. You couldn't control the other person slamming into your car and you having a wreck that day, right? Like, that's out of your control. But if 2025, it's, and to the point that it's literally written on the side of a package of cigarettes, that using this product may lead to lung cancer, if you choose to accept that risk and then you end up having a health problem because of it, well, tough shit. That's your problem. I'm not going to feel bad for you. That's a choice you made, and you can live with the consequences. And it's the same way with these fish. You choose to eat these fish, you may live a long, healthy life, never have a problem. But if you do end up having an issue because of it, and every one of these ramps around here that you've launched your boat or kayak at has a warning sign in front of you that you have chosen to ignore, well, again, that's your problem. I'm not going to feel a bit bad for you. So, that's kind of my spiel on that. Like, I'm all for people making their own choices, living their own lives. I'll use myself here as an example. Like, water temperature, 47.8 degrees, where we're at right now. If I go overboard today in that water temperature, there's a good chance I'm not going to make it out of here. There's a good chance that I may die from hypothermia. Because I go into that water, the shock of going into water that cold, I don't know how my body's going to react to that. Summertime, if it happened in the summertime, the water's warm, I'm going to say some cuss words and be pissed off because I probably lost my camera overboard or at the very least damaged it. And then I'm going to climb my ass up back in this thing and say some more cuss words and go about my day. But 47-degree water temps, like, there's a good chance that I may have a bad outcome. I may die if I went overboard. So every time I come out and choose to fish, kayak, boat, whatever, if you set foot on the water, you're accepting the risk that if things go bad, if I have an accident, whatever reason, maybe I'm pulling in a big fish or something and I lose my balance and go overboard, that I could possibly die. If that happens to me, I don't expect anybody to feel bad for me. Don't feel any sympathy for me, because my decision, it was my choice to fish in dangerously cold water, and I accepted that risk and clearly made some mistake that caused me to end up in the water. It would have been my choice to be out there, and it was my stupid mistake that put me in the water, then put me in the situation. So don't feel bad for me if it ever happens. I hope it don't happen. I hope it don't. I'm trying to live as long as I can, as healthy as I can. So I don't want that to happen, but if it did, if you're reading some news story someday, like, hell far, that's that Kayak Catfish guy, he's dead. Wonder what happened. And you click on the story to see what actually happened. And you read I was a stupid idiot and was fishing in cold water and ended up upside down. Well, you know what? Just tell your friends, like, hey, you ain't gonna believe this, that Kayak Catfish, and go about your day. Don't feel bad for me. I don't want anybody feeling bad for me. Because again, the same situation with you, I'm not gonna feel bad for you. If somebody's truly a victim, I feel bad for them. But my sympathy is limited to the people who need it. I just can't feel bad for people that know the consequences, do it anyway, and then they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. And I guess that's part of our human nature. It's built into our genes, our genetics, that we never think anything's going to happen to us. It couldn't possibly happen to me, even though, here we go getting morbid again, rationally we all know we're going to die, but yet we all seem to live life like it's never going to happen. And, ideally, I think all of us would choose to, if we could pick how our expiration date is, we would pick it to be a long time away, just live healthy up until old age and then die peacefully in our sleep. But in reality, that's a small percentage of people that dies peacefully in their sleep, having lived a long, healthy life. Like usually it just don't work like that. You either have something unexpected happen, car wreck, drop dead of a heart attack, stroke, something like that, or it's a long drawn out illness of some kind. That's usually how it goes. I mean, statistically speaking, that's how it's going to go. So now here we go, getting all morbid. I'd probably, about once every 4 to 5 videos, we take a morbid turn. I don't know why that is. I don't even know how we got on it this time, but by gosh, we have. Here we are. Need to think of something more happy to talk about. I don't know if I have any happy-go-lucky stories lately. I ain't been doing much. When I'm not fishing, I've pretty much just been vegged out at the house lately. Because if I'm not fishing, that means it's either cold or the weather sucks. And so there ain't much to do outside in those conditions. So I ain't had a lot going on. My midlife crisis is still full force. I'm still nostalgic and reliving my childhood with these toys and whatnot. I'm on the hunt for Jake the Snake WWE Superstars figure right now. Him and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Well, Eddie Guerrero is also another one that just come out in this new series, but if I find Eddie Guerrero, I will get him, but I'm not just dying to get him. But the Jake the Snake and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I'm on the hunt for. But yeah, midlife crisis, still going strong, all nostalgic and everything for these toys. My G.I. Joe interest is fading. Not because of my midlife crisis coming to an end. Oh no, we're several months into the midlife crisis and still full force. My interest in the G.I. Joes has taken a hit because of the quality. These new G.I. Joe classified figures, the 6-inch figures, the detail of them, they look amazing. Like they are really good looking action figures. Like they're very, very, they look amazing. But when you get these figures, if you take them out of the package, and well, I am, because again, I'm reliving my childhood here. The quality of the actual figures themselves, while they look good, the quality of how they're built is really hit or miss. Some of these G.I. Joes, man, like right out the package, brand new, they're just poorly constructed. Like, for instance, my girlfriend got me the barbecue G.I. Joe figure. And I talked about that last summer when my midlife crisis started, that barbecue was the first G.I. Joe that I ever got as a kid. I remember it. It's one of my earliest memories as a kid. I was 3 years old. It was Easter. And in my Easter basket, I got barbecue G.I. Joe figure. And I know I was 3 because it was 1985 that figure came out. We looked it up. So it was 1985. I would have been 3 years old. And that's one of my earliest memories. Like I don't, maybe I have memories from before that, but like I can't put a timestamp on it. So anyway, that figure has, I guess as I've gotten older, become more nostalgic for me because it was my first one. And G.I. Joe's was my primary toy that I liked as a kid. We got a fish. Oh, come here, fish. Oh, he's going to pull too. Oh my gosh, he just let go. Oh, he just let go. I'm going to hold it here a second and see if he'll come back. I need to reel it in and see if we still got bait on there, though. Let me just see if he's going to come back for it. Doesn't appear so. Pulled it right out of his mouth. Let's go ahead and reel it in, though, just to make sure, one, we still got bait on the hook, and two, that we've not foul hooked it. But that barbecue figure, it's nostalgic for me because it was my first G.I. Joe, and I loved G.I. Joes as a kid. So my girlfriend got me the G.I. Joe Classified 6-inch figure of the barbecue action figure. And I opened it up, and right out the package, it's so loose in the torso and waist area. Yeah, that fish, I'm glad we checked that, folks. He stole our bait. Ripped it plumb off. Smart call on y'all reeling that one in and checking it. Let's cut another bait here while I tell you the story of my childhood and midlife crisis. But that figure right out the package, it's very loose in the torso. Like so much so, like if you put it on a little stand and stand him up, which I've got a shelf in my office, got these things on, he won't stand up straight. Like he leans and falls over all the time because it's like it's worn out. It reminds me of like a toy that's been played with forever. But it's brand new right out the package. I mean, she bought it from Target. Like the package was still sealed, like it was legitimately new figure. And so I was like, well, and that was one of the first ones that I got. And I was like, well, maybe that's just bad luck. I mean, any product, regardless of what it is, you're going to have some duds. Like you're going to have some quality control issues. That's part of it. That's life, man. When you're making thousands of any product, regardless of what industry you're in, you're going to have some flaws. But what I've come to realize with the G.I. Joes, as I have gotten a few more, is that the quality is about a 50% win rate on the quality. Like, there's a lot of them that are perfect. Like the knees and elbows and torso and waist and everything, like they're perfect. But then you'll get some that are just loose as can be. And they won't stand upright or anything, and it's just, and then figure, like if it was back in the day, when I was a kid, G.I. Joes were $2. They were $1.99. Nowadays, they're $25. Now, I don't pay that. I'm in a Facebook group where people list stuff for sale, and Amazon and Walmart around the holidays run a lot of sales, so I'm not paying full price, but still, they're expensive. And the quality is just gotten, of the ones I've gotten have been about a 50 to 60% win rate. And the rest of them just, you hold them up and they just flop around. I'm like, I just can't keep justifying this. And I don't want to buy multiple figures of the same one just until you get one that's good quality. So as much as I like G.I. Joe, my favorite toy from my childhood, I think I'm about done with them. Because I just can't trust the quality. Not because I want to be, not because my midlife crisis is over, but because, oh, look at that. We've got a fish. Get our line. I think something hit that. Did you see the way that line just started pulling off? I think something hit it. I wasn't done letting that line. I wanted to let out a little more, but I think a fish hit that bait. He's gone now. Let's get back to letting out some more line on there. So now my midlife crisis is still going, but it's the WWE Superstars, the Walmart exclusive line. I'm really into those. And I'm fighting the urge on the He-Man. I did just recently purchase a little birthday gift for myself, the Anti-Eternia He-Man, because it looks cool, and the Merman, because Merman's pretty badass. So, yeah, it's going strong, man. But I guess I should say thankfully, the G.I. Joes are such piss poor quality. Hasbro's doing a lousy job with their quality control that it's maybe curbing my midlife crisis. I don't know how long this is going to last. I hope it's not going to last forever. Hopefully I'll snap out of it. But if you're going to have a midlife crisis, I guess the best thing you could hope for would be to relive your childhood, and your childhood be relatively cheap. Action figures, even at $20, is a fairly cheap hobby. Some of these fellas my age have a midlife crisis. They get a divorce, buy a sports car, just go off the rails. And so a midlife crisis can get expensive quick. So I'm pretty fortunate in that I just, for some reason, like those toys. And for those of you that are interested in my midlife crisis, my Christmas present to myself was also toy related. I bought the Rock and Roll Express. It's it's an off-brand company. They've signed a few wrestlers, and they're making their own WWE superstars. It's like a He-Man body style figure. And they had the Rock and Roll Express, and they had a 2-pack of Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA, which I didn't really care for Magnum TA. The figure looks good, but I didn't want it. I wanted that Tully Blanchard figure, but I had to buy the 2-pack. So I got it, and Rock and Roll Express. The Rock and Roll Express, the ones I really wanted. And so I had pre-ordered that. That was my Christmas present to myself. I pre-ordered it, and they were supposed to be shipping in January. Well, here we are in March, and they still haven't shipped. So I don't know when I'm going to get the Rock and Roll Express. But I'm looking forward to it, assuming they actually ship, and we haven't all been just swindled out of our money. I'm looking forward to those figures. The update on the website, well, the last update I saw anyway said that it was pending shipment. So I don't know what that means. Hopefully it's coming soon. Initially when I had pre-ordered them, it said shipping in January. Well, they never shipped. I don't know why it's so difficult for them to get these figures in a timely manner. Especially the Walmart exclusive. I'm going to talk, y'all don't give a crap about this, but we're out here fishing and we got to talk about something. So I'm going to go into details on this crap oftentimes that y'all ain't interested in. But these figures, the WWE Superstars, they're a Walmart exclusive, meaning Walmart is the only company that gets them. Now, other companies will have them, but they'll be from third-party sellers. Like you can find them on Amazon, but it's people who have gotten them at Walmart and they're listing them on there themselves. Or you'll see them on eBay. Or the discounters, like we've got a store called Ollie's here in East Tennessee where they get a lot of merchandise from various retailers that they'll drastically discount at their store. Like they will get those figures. But as far as Mattel, that's the toy company that makes them, like they have a deal with Walmart. I think it's through 2027, if I read correctly, that Walmart will be the exclusive retailer for that particular figure. Well, that wouldn't be so bad if Walmart actually got those figures. But what happens is Walmart's distribution is apparently, this is all chatter online. All these nerds like me that's into these figures, we all have the same problems. And so there's all this chatter and social media and whatnot. We all hate Walmart. I hated Walmart before. I was done with Walmart before I got into these figures. Now I have to go there just to look for these things. But the way the Walmart distribution works is they will get a shipment of these figures in. And whenever they sell a certain number of those figures, I guess it triggers something in their system to send another order. Well, if your particular Walmart gets a figure that's unpopular, and there's been a few unpopular ones in this lineup. There's some of them that I don't have any interest. Like, I'm not getting the whole set. I'm just getting the ones I want. And there's some of them I just don't want. There's some of them that apparently nobody wants because a lot of the Walmarts have them. And so, like, if let's say they get a box and it's all of one figure that absolutely nobody wants, well, they sit on the shelf forever. So that next order, that next shipment, it never gets sent. And so if you only have one Walmart in your area and you want to collect this style of figures, you're out of luck because your Walmart is not going to get all of them. None of them do. None of them get all of the figures. So like my local Walmart, for instance, there's a ton of Rey Mysterio and a ton of Kurt Angle. I don't want either one of those figures, and apparently nobody else does either, because that's been the same ones on the shelves for months. So there's been numerous other releases of the figures since then, but my Walmart, it doesn't get any of them. So you end up having to go to all these different Walmarts to try to find them, or else pay the scalper fees on eBay, and who the hell wants to do that? So it's a very frustrating set of figures to collect. And the other big thing is, and this is something that we figured out, just people talking amongst themselves online, is that certain figures will end up in certain parts of the country. Like, just take my area. Several of my Walmarts have that Rey Mysterio. Nobody wants it, right? Like, it's just the shelves are full of them here. But you go online and you'll see people in other parts of the country, like out west, their stores never got Rey Mysterio. Like, it was all East Coast that got him. West Coast didn't get anything. And you'll see that, like, certain geographic regions will get certain figures and the rest of the country's just out of luck. Like, it's very difficult. It's very frustrating. And I don't know why. You might say, Justin, you're stupid. Why the hell do you even care? I shouldn't. It's part of my midlife crisis. Like, I don't want these things. I don't want to be interested in them. I just am. And I like these particular figures. I don't know why. I just do. So it would be great if Walmart could get their act together and make it possible. Or if Mattel would just say, hey, we're going to offer these at a bunch of different retailers instead of making them Walmart exclusive. But yeah, it took me there was a series that come out in November, Bret Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Cactus Jack. It took me till January. What the hell's going on? Siri just, shut up, Siri. Nobody's talking to you. Siri just randomly started talking over there. Ghosts whispering in my phone's ear or something. But the series that come out there in November, it took me till January to find those. And I got Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart on the way back home from Florida. There was a Walmart in northern Florida that had them. Still haven't seen them in my local Walmarts here. The next series, Jake the Snake, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Eddie Guerrero, those just come out in February. But God knows how long it'll take to find them. And the next ones that are coming out sometime in the summer, the only one that's been announced is the Great Muta. I don't know who else. They normally release 3 to 4 at a time, every few months apart. So it'll take you. I mean, I don't recommend getting into it because it'll take you forever to find the old ones. You'll have to go to a million Walmarts. And the new ones that come out, like if you want them right away, you're not going to be able, unless you pay scalper prices. You can get on eBay. These figures are $20 if you find them at Walmart. You get on eBay, you can buy the whole set that's out right now. Jake the Snake, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Eddie Guerrero, but it's $200 on there. So I'm not paying that. I may be in full midlife crisis mode, but there's limits on it. I'm still cheap. At the end of the day, I'm still cheap. And I've been able to find most of these, the older ones, like on eBay or discount stores or even Walmart clearance. Like I found some of them at clearance at Walmart. And I don't know how long they have to be on a peg there at Walmart. Like some of those figures have been there for months. Like go ahead and, like nobody wants them. Go ahead and discount them, get them the hell out of there. Or send them back and bring in the new ones. I don't get it. I don't get their rationale. It's like they have potential sales ready to happen, but they're just choosing to fill that space with something that won't sell. So anyway, that's the midlife crisis update for those of you following along with my life. We're still hardcore about the WWE Superstar figures. G.I. Joes are getting scaled back, fighting the urge for the He-Man. That's where we're at. When the Thundercats come out sometime this year, still don't know the specific date. They're coming out with a Masters of the Universe Thundercats crossover. So you're basically going to have Thundercats figures in the He-Man body style. Some of you are really going to have to like tie me down to keep me from getting those things. But yeah, that's where we're at with it. We're caught up now. Y'all are caught up on what's going on. I need to do some research really and find out how long midlife crises last. Because, I mean, eventually, when you see those when I was younger, and I would see these old dudes, like, completely disrupt their life. Just buy the sports car, leave their wife, go be a different person than they had been. Eventually, things get back to normal. Like, eventually, they sell the car and go crawling back to their wife, begging for mercy. My situation hasn't been that severe, but at some point you got to think like I snap out of it and get back to normal, right? I would have thought it'd take a couple weeks, but I mean, we're several months in now, so I don't know when it's going to happen for me, but I have to believe it ends eventually. It has to. This can't just be who you become. And it's one of those things, it's like I'm consciously aware of how stupid I'm being, but yet I just can't help myself. It's almost like it's a sickness of some kind. Is it something that as we age, maybe part of the chemistry in our brain, like it just changes somehow? I don't know if anybody has ever studied, and how would you even get these people to participate? Because most of the people that have a midlife crisis, I don't even know if they realize they're having. I mean, I'm pretty aware. Like I've got enough self-awareness to know that I'm acting like an idiot, trying to reclaim my childhood or something here. But I don't think most of these fellas that leave their wives and buy the sports car, like, I don't think they realize that they're going through it. And so getting people like that are maybe in denial to participate in some long-term research study, that might be difficult. So I don't know that any studies have ever been done on people going through a midlife crisis, but it would be interesting to know, like, is there something in our brain? Is there something, part of the wiring, the chemistry, is something just off? Now, there has to be something causing it. I don't know. But that's where we're at with it, man. I'm still going through it. Approaching, gosh, at this point, what? Yeah, it started sometime last summer. I don't remember exactly when it was. Sometime last summer. So over 6 months for sure, 8 months, 9 months now. Way longer than I thought it would take. I wonder why Siri started talking on my phone just randomly about, oh, I don't even know what it was talking about. I wonder what caused that. Let me see what, had I accidentally opened something on my phone maybe when I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the hell caused it. Technology just does weird things. They say technology improves our lives, and it certainly does in some aspects, but sometimes I think we give technology a little more credit than it deserves, because Siri just randomly starting talking like that, like, don't make any sense. The YouTube algorithm apparently knows videos that I want to watch better than what I know, because it just recommends videos at random that it thinks you want to see. But a lot of them that gets recommended to me, I don't have any interest in watching that. So it doesn't know me too particularly well. I think sometimes we just give technology more credit than we should for being better than it is. But it certainly does improve life in a lot of ways. I mean, right now out here today, we're using that daggone motor right there. GPS features on it. We've got the speed set. It's compensating for the current and the wind to keep us going at the speed we want. I've got that course heading feature set on it, so it's going in like a straight line. Now I'm having to adjust it periodically to keep us on this brake line over here, but still, if we were just out here paddling and trying to keep this speed on this position while fighting the current and the wind, like, we'd be having a hard time. So technology is making it much easier on us today than what we would have going on otherwise. But other things, it's like, phew. And I'm torn on that too, because you take something like, and nobody's really talked about it in a while, but a few years ago, all the rage was self-driving cars. It was going to take over. We was all going to be chauffeured around with our self-driving vehicles. Tesla, Google, various other companies, Uber, I think, that was all spending all this money on self-driving car technology. And it sounds good in theory, because most people aren't as good at driving as they claim to be. Like, there's a ton of car accidents, right? So if everything was automated, then in theory, vehicles could drive faster and everything would be in sync. Like when you got on the interstate, there'd be adequate spacing between each vehicle. You wouldn't have to worry about the person in front of you slamming on the brakes or anything like that. Everything would just be smooth. It sounds good in theory, but literally everything gets hacked these days. I mean, we get messages all the time. Your password has been compromised due to a data breach in whatever website or whatever company. And that's just the stuff we know about. That don't include all of the breaches and data leaks and all that from companies that have maybe paid a ransom or something to keep it from going public or whatever. Because that's apparently pretty common too. So imagine if we had all these self-driving cars, everything's automated, and somebody hacks into that system. What a disaster that could be. And I don't know how you would prevent it from happening, because as the ability to encrypt stuff gets better, the hackers get better. It's just a constant cat and mouse game. So I don't know that you could ever truly secure it enough to... I hope this fish, I hope he stays hooked up. Come here, fish. Oh, he's taking some line too now. He's still taking line, buddy. This one's pulling, buddy. All right, folks, we've had a little dry spell. We got the striper and the cat, and then we've just been making our way up this ledge here right at the top of the drop and trying to run into some more, and it's took a while now. I don't know how long it's been since those fish, but it's just covering water, man. It's trying to put your bait in front of an active fish, and if we come across fish that's up here 21 feet deep at the top of this drop, unless it's catfish that are maybe kind of down in the mud a little bit, that's just resting, if fish are out and about, like, they're going to be active up here. Like, they're going to be willing to eat. So far, so good with the wind. Like, it's blowing upriver, but it's not blowing so hard yet that we can't maintain our speed. So far, things have worked out for us today. I'm wondering what this is, man. It feels like head shakes. When it thrashes, it don't feel like a catfish rolling. It feels like head shakes. I wonder if could it be another striper? I wouldn't think it would be a striper normally, but the fact we just got that other one earlier, and now I feel like what feels like head shakes on this. And when he first hit, he was stripping off all that line like he was really bolting. That's striper-like behavior. This is going to be interesting to see, folks. I don't know. Y'all stay tuned or fast forward. We'll see. Y'all have the ability to fast forward and find out what it is. I got to sit here and finish reeling it in for me to figure it out. See, there he goes again. I don't know. If this one comes off before I see it, I'm going to be disappointed because I truly don't know what we're reeling in. He swam up here beside us. Okay, there was my sinker. We got to be close to seeing him. Boy, he is wound, buddy. It's a striper. It sure is. It's another striper. Another striper on the dragging setup. How awesome is that, man? That's two now. Two stripers. Yes. That is so awesome, man. That is awesome. Nice. I don't think this one's quite as big as the last one, but he is a really good quality fish. Nice, man. Come over here, striper. Nice. Yes, folks. He's hooked good too, right there in the upper lip. Let me try to get me a thumbnail or something over here. Let me see what I can do with this. I don't know if I can, with the lighting and this camera, I don't know if I can do a thumbnail out of that or not, but I'll certainly try. Come over here. Come over here, striper. Let's land you. Here, let me set y'all up here a minute while I land this thing. Y'all, I don't want to lose y'all overboard while I'm leaning over trying to get this thing. Okay. Nice. He might be as big as the other one. I don't know. They've both been really good quality. I'm not going to turn around in the sun and get a picture of this one, but I will at least hold him up here for y'all. If I can get that thing positioned right. There we go. There we go, man. What about that? 2 stripers dragging cut bait. Both of them ate the chunks. Could be coincidence, whatever, but still. Nice, man. Nice. I'll take it. It was a good time. I just knew the way he was pulling initially, stripping all that drag, that line, and then I'm reeling him in, I'm like, gosh, that feels like head shakes. Because catfish, when a blue's rolling, like you can feel them rolling, like rolling up in your line. Like that feels like head shakes with this fish. And sure enough, it was. All right. Well, let's get him released here. Let's take a camera, see if we can get a release on this thing. So turn him into the current there. I'd say he's probably ready to go, but he'll let us know. We're trolling into the, yeah, there he goes. There, he kicked off strong. Hey, that's another one, man. That's freaking awesome. 2 of them. Oh, crap. We've drifted off this ledge here now, too. We got to get back up. We're 45 feet deep now. Yeah, top of the drop, man. There's some stripers along bottom there on the top edge of this drop right now. Let's get our line straightened out. Gives another chunk, man. Could be coincidence that both of those fish ate the chunk, but I'm gonna put another one out there anyway. We still got our head bait. I love the big head baits for just big fish in general. But if there's, maybe it's a way the chunk bait being a different shape, if you will, than the head bait. Maybe it's pulling through the water differently. Maybe it has something to do with the scent of the body sections versus the head baits. Maybe it's just pure luck. Just pure luck of putting the rods that's been on this side of the kayak in the path of those fish. Who knows? But either way, we're going to keep doing it because that's fun. That's a dang good time right there. If y'all ain't never caught a big striped bass, I'd put it on your bucket list. They're a powerful fish. They're not a fish that I ever target. You know, I don't specifically go, well, I've got some videos on my channel using artificials and trolling for them. I used to do that at night back when I night fished, but I haven't done that in a long time. But I don't really, what the locals around here that fish for them usually pull around live baits. They take skipjack or big gizzard shad. They put out a bunch of planer boards and they just troll around, working the flats and the channel edges and stuff, or they get up there below the dams, which is what most of the guides around here do. They sit there below the dams and the boils and drop shad down and stuff. And I don't like either one of those things. I don't like fishing. I don't want to fish below the dams and the kayaks. I know a lot of these kayak guys are doing it now. From a safety aspect, it's not something I'm particularly comfortable with. Plus, there's always a million people below the dams, and I don't like being around people, so I don't want to do that. And y'all know how I am about planer boards. I have no desire to pull planer boards, and you just can't you can't keep skipjack alive in a kayak. Let's flip that bail over now. You can't keep skipjack alive in a kayak unless you're just fishing where you're catching the skipjack at and immediately putting them on a hook. But I just don't like, I love catching striped bass. I don't like the process of fishing for them. Best way I can describe it. But when I do catch one, as a total accident, I love it. And that was fun, folks. That was a good time. It was fun, and then when I felt what I thought was the head shakes, I'm like, Oh, because then you've got the mystery of it, the anticipation of not knowing what it really is that you have. Like that's fun, man. But I ain't caught a striper dragging in a few years. Of course I don't, in recent years I haven't dragged very much anyway, but I know there was one striper in particular I remember, it was a big one, that I caught on my channel. It's on a video, and I was dragging deep. I think I was like 70 feet deep, I think, and I got him. But that's been, that particular fish I know was a few years ago. So, I don't know. Right place, right time, I guess. I'll take it though. For whatever the reason, I'm happy with it. That fish right there got me warmed up a little bit, folks. I was starting to get a little chilly. The air temperature ain't bad today, but the wind blowing across the 48-degree water here, it's like an air conditioner effect. Makes it a little colder. Yeah, folks, that was fun. That was a good time right there. If I could consistently go out and catch stripers doing a technique that I enjoyed doing, I would be all about it, man. I would be all about it. But doing it like everybody else around here does it, I don't have any great interest in doing it. I don't like planer boards. I can't keep skipjack alive in the kayak, and I don't want to fish below the dams. So, kind of limited. The bottom fishing for them, like with cut bait, I mean, that's kind of getting lucky, right? I mean, you're kind of targeting catfish, but catching striper bycatches. What we're doing out here today, dragging cut bait, I mean, again, they're kind of bycatches. It's luck, really. I mean, yes, we have a solid strategy what we're doing here, working the edge of this flat. Like that's, the logic behind that is sound. But as far as getting these fish to eat the piece of cut bait on our dragging rig, there's some luck involved getting the stripers to do that. I'll be the first to admit that. Like there's some luck involved with those two striper catches today. But putting our baits on this area, I mean, like that's, the logic behind that is, I mean, I already explained that there earlier. Like there's a reason behind that. These fish, not just catfish, but all fish, work in break lines. And most of the time, most of my videos, you'll see me working the deepest break line, right? Especially if I'm suspend fishing. Like we're 23 feet deep right now. I don't necessarily, I could suspend fish this deep, but under 20 feet deep, I don't really like suspending baits because you've got a shadow of your kayak coming over these fish and your bait's right there. And it's like, and oftentimes out here, water's clear enough they can see anyway. Like I want to be deeper than that. And so fishing the deeper break lines, I can suspend fish like I want. We don't have the shadow issues. So that's what I normally end up doing. It's a high percentage play. But with us dragging out here today, I'm not so much worried about the shadow and the depth and all that because our baits are long behind us. Even if we go over the fish, if they move out a little bit, by the time our baits get to them, like we've got enough distance out. And too, the sun at the angle that it's currently at, it's like hitting us at an angle. It's not like overhead and putting the shadow down like right on top of the fish. So yeah, it goes back to doing what you want to do. You've got to put your baits where the fish are, but you also got to enjoy what you're doing. You got to find techniques and ways of fishing that's enjoyable to you, that you like doing, that's fun, because that's what's going to keep you going back. I could come out here and run daggone trot lines, right, and catch way more catfish doing that than what I ever will running 2 rods, rod and reel, right? But trot line stuff, it ain't fun. Like, I'm not going to enjoy that. Even though it might be more fish and it might be more big fish, it's not fun. You got to do what you like to do. And the same thing with your fishing rod and reel. Like, there's a lot of different techniques that you can do, but you gotta spend your time doing what it is that makes you happy. Because that's what's going to keep you coming back. That's what's going to motivate you to leave your house on days where maybe it's not ideal weather conditions or water conditions. Because, I mean, let's face it, how many of those do you really get over the course of the year? How many days do you go fishing where weather and water conditions are absolutely perfect? I mean, you're probably talking a handful of days a year. So you got to do what makes you happy, because that's what's going to keep you going out on the days that are not so good. And, you know, it's got to be productive. It's got to be enjoyable. But it don't necessarily have to be the best thing to do. I mean, us running daggone commercial gear, hoop nets or something, would be the best thing to get the most number of fish, right? But what the hell's the fun in that? So I like suspending baits. That's why I do it as much as I do. This technique here, dragging, is fun as long as you don't have a million planer boards out. I don't find planer board fishing fun. But we can definitely work the shallows a little better with this technique. And the catfish today is kind of let us down out here on this flat, but the stripers have made it worthwhile. And those small cats there in that drum we got in the creek before we got out here in the current, like, yes, they're small fish, but when you're reeling them in on the lighter tackle, hell, they're fun too. So it's been a productive day for both numbers and quality and everything today. Like, today's been a really good day. Sorry, y'all, I gotta wipe my nose off again. Bear with me. Shout out to the Loys, by the way. Will and Lynn Loy, they are channel members on my channel. A couple months ago, they had seen me have to wipe my nose, and it was my old handkerchiefs, all wore out and stained and everything, and they said, Justin needs some new handkerchiefs. So they sent me a new pack. They did. I swear they did. They sent me this handkerchief I'm using today. So shout out to the Will and Lynn Loy. Thank y'all so much for my handkerchiefs. I'm going to put them to use, by gosh. I'm dirtying this one up today. But yeah, I've had a good day out here today. But you know what? If we was to come out tomorrow in the same spot doing the same thing, it may be even more fish. It may be no fish. Now, I won't be coming out tomorrow. The wind, it's kicking up a little bit. It's still tolerable right now, but it's going to be bad this afternoon, and then tomorrow all day long is supposed to be just super high winds. So I won't be fishing tomorrow at all. But just for the sake of the conversation, if I was, who the hell knows what kind of day we would have tomorrow? It's like, well, the last video there for regular viewers, it was a great day, right? We were getting fish consistently, all kind of the same scenario, just different part of the river. But when I went out the next day, hold on, something was hitting that bait. But, you know, I went out that following day and just completely different bite, man. Completely different situation. So you just never know, man. It's just really inconsistent this time of year. And in the situation we got out here right now, like even if the weather is consistent, your water conditions are changing, because our water had come up from the rain to about summer pool height, and now they've been working all that water through the dams, the hydroelectric dams, and now the water's falling. So even if you get a few days of consistent weather, your water conditions are changing. And so it's like that all winter long into spring. It's just constantly water up, water down, cold front come through, weather temperature or air temperatures all over the place, water temperatures all over the place. Like, it's just hard to pattern a consistent bite. So you just kind of got to go out and do what it is that you love to do. Whatever technique that is, whatever style of fishing that is, go do it. And put your baits in productive areas. And over the course of time, like, you're going to have some rough days. I mean, I'd be the first to admit, I have more skunk days in the winter months than any other time of year. But just consistency always pays off. Consistency pays off with everything in life. And it's really evident when it comes to fishing. Like, if you just keep putting the time in, keep putting the work in, you eventually get rewarded with fish. May not be big fish every time. It may not be any fish every time, but you go out and put the time and effort in, and you look back at the end of the year, it will have paid off every single year. You can't look at a small sample size like a day or a week. You gotta plot it out 6 months, a year at a time, and then look at the body of work. And it always pays off, man. It always does. It doesn't matter how big a slump I'm in for a week or two, whatever, at the end of the year, it always works out. It sucks when you're going through those slumps, and it'll make you second guess yourself. It'll break your confidence sometimes. But you gotta stay the course, keep after it, and it'll pay off in the end. The same thing is the opposite of that's also true, right? Like, you'll go through times where you're rolling. Every trip you go out, you're catching big fish, you're catching a lot of fish. Like, you think you're just God's gift to fishing because it's just so easy during that time period. And you can kind of get to feeling a little too good about yourself. Maybe that you're better than you are, and then these fish, they'll humble you real fast. So it goes both ways. But at the end of the year, it always balances out. If you have a slump for a week or two, then at some point in the year, you're probably going to have a week or two where it's just, the fishing's just on fire. It's just great for you. So that's about the best advice I could give anybody, is just be consistent with what you do and enjoy yourself, have fun. Don't go do something just because you think it's going to be the most productive thing. Like, you got to enjoy it too. You want to be productive, but you got to have fun with it too. As otherwise, you're not going to stick with it. Unless you're just getting great, I mean, maybe if you're doing something you don't want to do and you're getting great results with it all the time, maybe you stick with it a little longer, but can you get those abnormal results all the time? Probably not. And when you look at anything in life, fishing or whatever, the people who are most likely to stick with something for the longest amount of time, those are the people you will find that are most passionate about whatever that thing is they're doing. They enjoy it, they love it, and that's what really keeps them doing it. You know what's going to keep me from doing what I want to do right now is this wind. It's got us moving 0.9 miles an hour. We're cattywampus here. The kayak's getting spun around. I feel like the wind is going to be the end of us soon out here, folks. We knew it was coming. We've gotten what? Well, golly bum, has it been this long? We're 3.5 hours into this. It don't feel like it's been that long today, folks. I think these stripers have got me. They say time flies when you're having fun. It don't feel like it's been that long today. Sometimes I go out and the bite's really just really slow, like the day kind of drags, but today it's flown. But it's 12:54 right now. So the wind, I'm surprised we got as long as we have based on them forecasts. Margie Ison could have told us exactly when the wind was going to kick up today, but unfortunately she's left us behind, and she's left the weather report in the hands of these meteorologists that ain't none of them worth a damn. But yeah, we're moving too fast down through here, folks. I don't want, and 47-degree water temps, I don't want to go this quickly. I want to be about a half a mile an hour at the most. You could make an argument to go slower, but I still want to be able to cover some water. 0.3 to 0.5 is ideal, but in the summer month, when the water's warm, you can go a little quicker. Like if the water temps is 70, 80 degrees right now, I wouldn't be worried about moving 0.8, 0.9. I wouldn't worry about it. But at 47 degrees, 47.8 right now is what the thing's saying. You pull by fish too quickly and forget about it, man. So that water going against the current, or the wind going against the current, is going to make it a little choppy too as it picks up today, which is right now is fine. It's not a problem right now, and the dragging technique is good for choppy water anyway. What you don't want to be doing in real choppy water is trying to suspend, fishing vertical, because then your baits are sitting there bouncing. When you get in choppy water when you're dragging, you can just let out more line, and it'll pull everything along more smoothly. We're veering off here again. You can kind of see we've gotten a little too far to the left over here. I want to be closer. I want to be right on that edge. I want to be close to that drop. I'm getting a little farther away from it again. I veer us back this way. Now the wind's going to turn us this way into it. I'll probably call it quits here in a little while. My battery ain't going to last much longer on this thing, so whenever the battery craps out, I'll probably call it quits on filming. Don't let me forget before I leave today, I need to try to get some thumbnails. I've got a couple other videos I need to get thumbnails for. It's a nice sunny day. It's a good day to do it. I used to try to get a thumbnail every day that I would film, but sometimes you go out and the weather's all nasty and dreary and the lighting's not good, and I find it better a day like today where it's good and sunny. You can get several thumbnails and then just use them for the videos that are dreary days. That's a little YouTube pro tip for you there, for those of you in my audience that are other YouTubers. As long as the thumbnail's relevant to the video, it don't matter if it was taken the same day that the video was filmed. It sure would be nice though to bust another fish before we get blown out of here. And it's my fault though. Again, if I'd brought a drift sock with us, we could straighten ourselves out and maintain our speed. At least with the wind right now. Now, once it gets up 20 plus miles an hour, well, you could do it with a drift sock, but you would need a much bigger drift sock than what I have. And with 3 lines going off the back of the kayak, as close together as my lines are, it would be a pain in the butt running a drift sock back there, really. But it would help. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, since we're getting blown sideways anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and reel in our live shad here, because we We ain't got anything on the live shad since we got out here in the current. Like it's been, we were catching a ton of fish back there in the creek. But once we got out here in the moving water, forget about it. But I'm glad we brought this rod today. It really paid off with extra fish. That wind's got us completely sideways. You can feel it picking up. We're not moving much. I mean, we're only moving 0.6 right now, which is fine. But that's because the motor has basically cut back to pretty much nothing, and this the wind pushing us against the current, which then turns the kayak sideways like this. Which you can run your kayak like that. You know, fish sideways, just turn the rod holders, go one that way and one back that way. I've done that. But I like being able to, I like having more control. You know, I don't want to ever just, I mean, I've done it before and it can be productive at times, just get out there and just free drift. But I really, it's so much more beneficial to work those contours, work those break lines. And so I want to be in control. I want to be in control of where I'm at all times. Like right now, you can see we're drifting off. You can see us going off this ledge, and you can see the decline here. And there's actually some fish down here too. I'm just going to let it take us for now since we're about done anyway. But I want to, man, if I'm working that top break line, I want to work it. If I'm working the bottom one, I want to work it. I don't want to be way off over here to the left or way out here in the middle of the river channel. Like you can do that and catch fish, but you're going to catch more and you're going to catch bigger if you work the contours, if you work those break lines, because that's where fish are going to be oftentimes cruising along when they go place to place. So that's my thoughts on it, folks. That's my thoughts on fishing. That's my thoughts on life. You've heard my thoughts on Walmart and their lousy distribution system. I think we've covered a lot today, folks. We've had some fun. We've caught some fish. Really love that we caught those stripers. Today's been a good day. That's all I can say about it. Today has been a good day. Yeah, getting a little bit bigger waves now. This is just, it is what it is. It's gonna ramp up a little bit. We had a good morning while it lasted though. I think, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and probably reel in here. I'm gonna go back here, this creek that we launched in, and get me some, I'm gonna get them damn thumbnails, get that done. And I probably won't film it because I don't know if there'd be much interest in it, but I may poke around a little bit more back there possibly and just go further back in that creek and take a look, because when I launched right there, the launch site's farther on out in the creek, and so I launched right there and I saw them shad and we got our bait and went over and come out. I may go on back in that creek before I leave and just take a look around, see what kind of bait's back there, take a look on the graph, see if I see anything back there potentially. I may throw out that lighter action rod with some live shad some more while I'm back there too doing that. But either way, the wind has got us completely sideways here in the kayak now. It's getting a little bit more choppy, but it's just going to keep ramping up. Like I said, it's going to be, it's just one of them days, and it's just going to get worse from here. It's not going to slack off. So we've got our fish. We've had our fun. I'm going to go get my thumbnails, poke around in that creek where it should be completely shielded from the wind, and then I'm going to take it to the house, folks. So thanks for coming with me today. I hope y'all have enjoyed it as much as I have, and I'll see you again here soon.